Segment of our show is sponsored by the Doctor of Optometry, Dr. Euphemia Huggins Williams, ODPC. She's my eye doctor, y'all, and she makes sure that everything is great and copacetic with my eyes, making sure I don't have any glaucoma, any cataracts, stigmatisms, or anything like that. So call her up at 804-327-1640, 804-327-1640, or drop by at 7124 Forest Hill Avenue, Suite B in Richmond, Virginia, 23225. She's got a great selection of stylish eyewear, takes all kinds of insurances, so definitely make sure you check out the Doctor of Optometry, Dr. Euphemia Huggins Williams, ODPC, at 804-327-1640. That's 804-327-1640.
Holistic care for the mind, body, and spirit. Free Spirit Enterprises, LLC is a parent company for Organic Creations, Jewelry by Design, Miller Publishing, and Consultation Services. Organic Creations offers you the best in natural, homemade skin and hair care products. Jewelry by Design allows you, the customer, to design your own jewelry as it is custom made just for you. Thinking of self-publishing a book or novel? Check out Miller Publishing and Consultation Services. Free Spirit Enterprises is where holistic care meets mind, body, and spirit. Visit us at freespiritenterprisesco.biz. That's FRESPIRITENTERPRISESCO.biz. Or you can call 804-252-6562. Like us on Facebook under Free Spirit Enterprises, LLC.
Hello, everybody. This is your host, the one and only Mr. LP, Steven Sykes of Enliven Radio, part of LegacyInternetRadio.com. I hope everybody is enjoying yourself today, being Tuesday, July 22nd, 2014. And it's been hot out there, so I hope everybody is enjoying themselves. Me, I personally hate AC, so I'm enjoying the heat very much. I'm glad everybody else is out there enjoying yourself, and thank you for all who's listening to us on the MixLR page and also LegacyInternetRadio.com and also the TuneIn application. So we have a variety of different ways that you could check us out at your home, your car. There's no excuses. I expect you all to be listening in. Today, we have a great show for you, and it's one of my more favorite shows, and it's something that I have not done in a while. A couple people asked me to bring it back, so I said, okay, hey, why not? But before, as always, I promised my grandmother that I have a show lead off in prayer. I had asked the panel to join me in and help me out, but obviously I was left hanging out to dry. So I'm going to go ahead and go through with it so I don't get in trouble. And dear Lord, thank you very much for the opportunity to fellowship with you and share lessons amongst all each other. Please help those who are hurt, sick, going through troubles, different times in their life that's just not going well for others, and those who are having good things going on along in their lives and also being prosperous. Please help us all follow through with your words. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Also today, with our panel discussion roundtable, we will be having Coach Ellis Crum offer some words of encouragement and leadership shortly. But before he comes in, I want to take the opportunity to introduce you to all our wonderful people. Now I'm going to let them say their names and announce themselves and what they do and where they from. So please go ahead, state your name, where you're from, and what you do, and all of y'all are powerful people, and we go from there. And I'm going to start off with you, young lady.
Hello there. I'm Michelle Robinson. I'm from Chesapeake, Virginia, and I work for the lovely state of Virginia.
Congratulations. You got a job. Okay, and for you?
Hi, I'm Tangela Dubos. I'm from Richmond, Virginia, and I also work for the state of Virginia.
You ain't from Richmond. Where you from, girl? You talk too proper. Where you from?
I originally hail from Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Yeah. Oh, so you still country.
Chattown.
Okay, Chattown. Okay, not a problem.
All right.
We just want to make sure we get that fixed, okay? All right. And you, sir?
Ryan Waddy, Tappahannock, Virginia, and I own a trucking company.
Cool. What do you deliver with your trucking?
My major contract is I haul clay to make cat litter and stuff like that. It's cat litter and high and dry, and we service areas all on the Eastern Shore like Advance Auto, Family Dollar, and Walmart and stuff like that. The other trucks, they do stone and stuff like that. So
if there's any problems on the road, we know it's not your company.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No. And if you're behind me and something breaks your windshield, or in front of me, excuse me, it's not our fault.
Okay. So we won't get your number down on the truck. I was going to say, can I get that number real quick? All right. And you, young lady.
Good evening. I'm author Tracy Hardney-Scott. I hail from New York City.
Yay.
And I am the host of the Sister to Sister Can We Talk show.
And you are, what, Bronx? I forgot.
Brooklyn. All day.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm a Manhattan boy and everything. Well, thank y'all very much for coming. Y'all ready to, well, first of all, full disclaimer, we're going to start some trouble today. And everything, so I'm going to make sure. So we're going to go. I'm going to be nice. I spread everything apart in terms of A being high, B being low. Do you want to start off low or do you want to start off high?
Let's start off low.
Low. Okay, not a problem. We're going to start off low. Today, you see a lot of the different things out there with social media. We have different celebrities out there in their dating world and things, but a little phenomenon is starting to happen that usually was always a problem with teens and adults and things in their jobs, but now you're seeing more and more celebrities doing these things. They're posting pictures of their significant other, their dating partner, their husband, wives, whatever, online, and it's not good. For example, we had J.R. Smith last year posted a picture of the girl he was dating on her backside. Recently, you have some rapper, French Montana, posting pictures of Chloe on the backside online on Twitter and Facebook. And you see all these other celebrities now posting their wives naked. You see Kanye did it recently while he was pregnant. And it's one thing to post, show the beauty of pregnancy. I get that to a point. And there's a classy way to do it. You see Esquire, Vogue do it with, I think of Demi Moore was one of the first ones that did it with the pregnancy shop, things of that nature. But you see more and more people doing this, and now, unfortunately, people follow more. In this situation, you was more celebrities following general everyday people versus the other way around. But now you see more and more people posting pictures of their significant other online, and it's supposed to be fun. Now, don't know everybody's personal situation here, whether you're dating or not, but regardless if you're dating or not, let's put that to the side. Why is it for some reason people are now posting your partner online? And it used to be the girl or the week or what have you, but why are people posting their partner's private parts online?
Can I start?
Help yourself, whoever wants to go first.
I think that it's ironic that we call it social media, because when people do that, they dictate that they don't have any social skills. It's something that we talked about. And I think that the problem is that back in the days, we used to teach etiquette. We taught phone etiquette. We taught business etiquette. There was never a class dictated for social media etiquette. And it took off like a wildfire. And now you have people on there. When Facebook, so to speak, started, it was an opportunity for people to network, to fellowship, to reach out. Now it's become the norm where it's just a catch-all for everything. You have to end up deleting people off your page because you get things that you don't want. I'm sure the gentleman to the left of me, he probably has a Facebook page like I do to market my business. I'm sure you do for your career as well. But people forget, and like for my counterparts here that work for the state, people forget that now the government and jobs are actually monitoring these pages. So they need to be mindful of what they post.
And I agree. I agree to, it all started when, the world started making us lazy. It even gotten to the point where we have this lack of communication with one another. You don't have the camaraderie anymore, like talk about. You can just text something or put something on Facebook or a picture. And it's basically a picture, but it has an hour's worth of conversation that you never see or hear. You get what I'm saying? But, the comment on, I guess, like the nudity that we see, I think it's more of a trophy bit. You know what I mean? It's like, look what I have. Look what I have on my side.
But a lot of it is not even nudity. But there's this big thing you see on Instagram, free the nipple. Why?
All right, but it's a form of sex. That's a form of nudity, and it sells.
But the issue is that, okay, there's plenty of sites you can get nudity all you want, free, public, whatever. Not even porn sites you can get nudity all you want. You can go to the New Yorker magazine, look at NFS. I don't know the term, not safe for work, but you can pull up all you want nudity. So why you have to have Instagram and other things? And these women they were clothed, but why?
None of them have the membership that the other ones have.
Say that again,
None
man.
of them have the membership that the other ones have. None of them reach the masses. You have to be in that social status to read the New Yorker, the Wall Street Journal, or some of the other sites. Facebook is a universal. Instagram is a universal. It reaches from young to old.
All right, we have a caller. We'll jump back on this conversation once we finish with the caller. And hello. Welcome to Enliven Radio, part of LegacyInternetRadio.com. And who do we have on the line today? Hello.
Hey, Stephen, how are you?
I'm doing all right, sir. And welcome to Enliven Radio. And how are you doing today?
I'm doing one fabulous.
Cool. And who do we have on the line today?
Hey, this is Coach Ellis.
Thank you very much for calling, Coach Ellis. And you enjoying yourself for the day?
Yeah, I'm having a great day. Every time I can wake up with no new holes in my body and breathing air, and air is still free, it's a great day.
You sure air is free these days? The last I checked, they're trying to find a way to tax that too.
Yeah, I've not had to put the air in my baby's name yet, so it's still good.
All right, I'll take that one. So, sir, what do you have? We were talking about a variety of different things, a roundtable topic, but various topics. But you have something unique to share with us today.
Well, part of leadership is effective communication, and I think that a lot of times we don't communicate effectively. So I want to spend just a few minutes talking about 3 or 4 keys to effective communications for leaders. Is that okay?
Works for me.
All right. The first thing leaders have to do in effective communication is they have to learn how to be a stage 3 listener. Are you familiar with the 3 stages of listening?
I am, but for the listeners who are not, sir?
Well, there's a theory about 3 stages of listening. Stage 1 listening is simply holding your tongue until the other person takes a breath so you can say what you want to say. Stage 2 listening is listening for the purpose of sharpshooting whatever the other person is saying so you can have your comeback ready. And stage 3 listening is actually listening to the other person and hearing not just what they say, but hearing their heart in the matter in which they're speaking to. The first 2 levels of listening is all about you. But that 3rd level of listening is about the other person. So to be great leaders, we must listen with the ear to hear the words and the heart of the person who's talking. And that's important because everybody wants to be heard. Everybody wants to be heard. And so the idea is that the law of reciprocity takes effect, that if you want to be heard, then you must learn how to hear. And it's not that your ears don't work. It's just how you process what you're getting. So the first point in leadership listening or leadership communication is learn to listen at level 3. Listen for the words and the heart of the person who is speaking. The second part of leadership communication skills is learn how to be heard, not how to say something. There's a critical difference here. Speaking to say something presumes that what you have to say is more important than what the receiver gets. So if there's any miscommunication, any misunderstanding, it becomes the listener's fault and not the speaker's fault. And that's how 95% of us talk. We talk with the idea that we speak very clearly, and the other person, if they misunderstood, it's their fault. But leaders take a different perspective. Leaders want to be heard. So therefore, if I communicate and you misunderstand, it's my fault as the leader for not communicating effectively, that you fully understand what I intend to say. In doing that, so if I, first of all, listen for the words in the heart of the speaker, and then when I speak to be heard, not simply to say something, I then have we then enter into what I call a transformational conversation. It's not simply an exchange of words, but now it's an exchange of ideas, it's an exchange of spirits, it's an exchange of ideologies. It is now an open exchange that changes people at their core. The third aspect of leadership communication is communicate from a servant's position. Most leaders take the perspective that leadership means they're in charge. But what true leadership is a service position. And the bigger a leader you are, the more you serve the people who work with you. If I was a boss, I'd say they work for me. As a leader, I'd say they work with me. We're after the same goals. They have buy-in just like I do. Our roles are simply different. So those are the 3 keys to having effective communication as leaders. And we find that this works independent of what your leadership position is. Whether you're president or you're a husband or you're a pastor or you're a parent or you are a Boy Scout leader or choir director, it doesn't matter what your leadership role is. If you employ these 3 principles of communication, your leadership communication will improve.
That is so very true, sir. I greatly appreciate it. That's a lot of things to expand on and go further. And I hope people take those words to heart, because we have to be able to find ourselves to be humble enough in order, excuse me for the feedback, to be humble enough to offer or to provide that level of listening and not go through these different rigmaroles and other indirect ways to get their point across without listening to the person's heart, as you suggested as well.
Absolutely.
Before we let you go, sir, tell us a little bit about the services that you offer and how we can contact you.
Absolutely. I am a life and leadership coach. I own the practice Transformational Conversation, RANS, the number 4, Mational Conversations. I can be found on Facebook at Transformational Conversations. I can be found on Twitter at Transform Convos. And I can be found on email at lifecoachellis@gmail.com. And also soon, my website should be up by this weekend at ellisprum.net. We provide life and leadership coaching for individuals and organizations, profits and nonprofits, in order to help people and organizations discover their divine or definitive design, that is who they are as an individual organization, help them passionately pursue their purpose, which is why they are. And if they understand who they are and why they are, then they can define their place of destiny. That is what they do. And when who they are, why they are, and what they do all align together, life worth leaving a legacy, which is what they leave behind. And we help enhance people's legacy. So that's what we do at Transformational Conversations.
I thank you very kindly, sir. And please enjoy your rest of your evening and don't get into too much trouble.
I'll try not to.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, Mr. LP.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Some interesting words that Coach Crum offered. Any thoughts on those?
This is Silk. I enjoyed definitely what he said. The hardest thing is to put yourself in a service role. You do have a lot of people, we always hear the terminology, people are power tripping, or they get, a little bit of power and they go crazy. So it was good to hear, definitely for myself, that I'm on the right track of being a leader.
Mm-hmm. Ms. Dubose, we were talking about earlier regarding the enjoyment that people have in posting their significant other and also seeing about other people online, their parts, clothed or unclothed. And to me, the dynamic that affects the dynamic of your relationship, that A, is putting it out there, and B, putting it out there in a negative way. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, expounding on what was said earlier about the trophy girlfriend, boyfriend, from a woman's perspective, we've always been taught, or we are now being taught, to maximize our assets. So you got to look, if you look at it from that way, if it's done in a tasteful way, because I'm thinking about Mrs. Michelle Obama. Her arms are nice looking, right? That's an asset for her. So for another woman, it could be her tush. For another woman, it could be Tina. I'm thinking of Tina Turner. It could be her hot legs. So whatever it is that maybe a woman says, I can really work this, and maybe she's thinking this is a way that I can, exude confidence instead of going over into that other realm of, nakedness.
But you're laying on a bed and your boyfriend, husband, sits there, takes a picture of your backside, posts it on Instagram and says, hey, this is what I got tonight. Sorry, you can't have it.
He's just bragging. He's just telling everybody this is what I got, and that he's being very boastful. I mean, some people can do it tastefully, but then those who put it out there like they are just thirsty for attention.
And you also have to think, these are two consenting adults, hopefully. These are two consenting adults. So, either person has to agree, hey, I want to take your picture. Hey, I'm going to agree to that. So you got to look at it from that point of view, too. Now, if these were two kids, then we'll have a problem. But if you're talking about adults,
Go ahead.
I think in part I can agree with her, except for the aspect of, I don't believe that is bragging. I believe it's insecurity. I believe that these are manifestations of behaviors because you're so used to not having. You find that people, the have-nots, always have to boast. I remember as a kid, we learned that people with money or people with wealth, they didn't boast. They didn't have to go. If you notice, if you take our youth, for example, I grew up in New York City, and where Mafia was king, and John Gotti was a don, and he wore custom suits, one pinky ring, and that was it. Very classy, very refined. Where our young men, as soon as they get money, they got to go get 6 chains, 4 watches, whatever, an overabundance of foolishness, which is basically an insecurity of, look what I got, look what I've acquired. And I dictate that with the pictures of whatever. Some of them can't even believe that they could get the girl that they possibly got. I mean, we look at shows like Maury and them all the time, where the ugly duckling years from now comes back and go, look what you missed out on. And you go, you held on to that since high school, 20 and 30 years later. So I think to dig deeper into that thing, we can look at it and we can see that there's a backstory behind there. It could even be a young lady who didn't feel attractive in school. She wasn't the most popular, and now all of a sudden she toned her body. She feels a little right about herself. It's kind of like, look what you could have had, but you blew it.
Now, all of you, you especially mentioned the idea that it wasn't taught about social media. But what was taught was, that's always from the beginning, communication, effective journalism, and economics. So how this, although right or wrong, can affect your money. And one of the things I was taught from sports and economics and just from my grandmother, but bottom line, whatever issues you got to go to school, education, even your home, don't affect your job and your money. Mm-hmm. So this is where these things could potentially affect your money and your job, and to some maybe blow you up, such as various sex tapes, or put you down. And you see, as black women, when it's done, it's portrayed negatively. To me, it shouldn't do it at all in public, but it's portrayed negatively when you see anybody that's either mixed in their culture or white, it's blown up. So
I don't think you have kids that's in school, obviously, because the education system has changed dramatically. The things that they used to teach us in school, we should only wish that they taught our kids in school. When I went to school, young ladies even learned how to sit in school, what was proper, what wasn't proper, and things of that nature. We learned how to set a table. We learned what fork to use, and all kind of social skills or whatever, and home economic classes that were eliminated out of the education system due to financing. We are a society that rewards and watch buffoonery and foolishness and ratchetness. Okay, and when we fester those type of environments, when we allow our kids, we don't allow our kids to tune into Sesame Street, but we can let them watch the Real Housewives of Atlanta or other foolishness. So our role models, everything has changed, where one of my biggest pet peeves is these girl fight videos. Okay, I know for my business, I'm sure this gentleman for his business, I know definitely for yours and yours, Stephen, you have posted positive things about your business or positive statements, and you may get 1 or 2 or 3 likes, and 5 out of 10, they're from family members, right? But post something foolishness, post something ratchet, post a girl fight video, and like this gentleman said, it can go on endlessly.
We're talking about the sex thing. If you go back 20, 40 years or so, when the females came out, they were beautiful and they, wanted to be models and so forth and so on. Well, then you had folks out there who basically got in their ear and said, listen, again, on your assets, let's make some money off of you.
Right.
All right. So they went to Playboy and stuff like that, and they made some money. Then they got out there and they realized, well, maybe I shouldn't have done that. That maybe messed me up in the long run. Like my father said, I told you all the time, the footsteps you do, you take today affect what you do tomorrow. Well, here it is, 2014, and it's not one of those type of organizations that come out and be like, listen, we want to get you naked. Let's put something on Facebook, out here on the internet. They're just doing it willingly because they're malnourished. They don't have that.
Exactly.
And it goes back to, like you said, it's a deeper thing. It's one of those things where I want to prove to the world that now I am beautiful regardless of what happened in my past. I'm beautiful. I want to show it off, or I'm advertising.
Right. I'm marketing myself.
Marketing myself from surgery that I possibly could have had.
And the funny thing about it is, you mentioned Playboy. Playboy don't even make the money now anymore because two things. One is all online for free. Right. Second, so it used to be exclusive to get something like that, or even Blacktail or whatever. But even with Playboy, it was done classy, and you had Pulitzer Prize winning writers, who wrote articles. There was a lot of the joke was, I read Playboy for the articles. Well, to be honest, that was the truth, because you got a lot of the marketing tips and some of your business deals you got from Playboy, and so it is. But they don't make the money anymore because they don't do the things social media is now. Go ahead, Mr. DuBois.
Oh, I was just, I agree. I totally agree. And I believe some of that could be due to not being taught. So, I mean, you have a bunch of reasons. I wish, girls could be surveyed. Hey, why did you do that? What did it make you feel like? To get some feedback as to why they did what they did or why the guy did what he did. So there could be, 1,000 reasons why people do what they do, but I think we have to teach our children. And that goes along with, starting at home. We can't always expect our kids to be taught at school, okay? Because normally what you're taught at home, and when you go somewhere else, especially at the school yard or in the school class, the classroom, it will come out. And so you'll know exactly what that child is being taught. And not all the time, because sometimes kids pick up things at school as well, but parents have to be mindful. And I do remember a long time ago, growing up, you had neighbors, next door neighbors, watch what you do and go tell mom and dad. This is a whole different generation.
I get yelled at all the time about, don't tell me what my dad, or I'm suggesting there's another person. Oh, you're wrong for telling that person why.
Yeah.
Because let that been 10 years ago, if I name a perfect example, a person had the B word in the title of their business. I said that was sad. Hey, young man, let's try to. I wrote an open letter to give to him. I got yelled soundly by a bunch of people telling me it's wrong. Why? Because that's representing us. I mean, come on. I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's because we got disenfranchised as a people. We got off of the whole it takes a village, okay? And that's where it started. It wasn't unheard of that if my mother was told by Miss Jones up the street that me and my sister was acting a fool, Miss Jones had right to check us all the way back to our mother. And then after our mother checked us, she picked up the phone and called Nana. And you might not see Nana for 2 or 3 weeks, and Nana will buy you ice cream and everything, but before you left Nana's house, you had to see Nana for acting a fool to embarrass the family. Young black men forgot what the brand of their name means, that their father or their mother gave it to them untarnished, and what that legacy, as your radio says, means. So when we lost the concept of it taking a village, mothers got younger, grandmothers got younger, and as it is, all of those morals and principles that was instilled in us. One of the greatest testimonies that I always tell people is, remember all of us when we were a kid, I'm never going to sound like my mother.
Right.
I'm never going to say what my mother say. I'm never going to do what my mother do. And now I'm proud to look in the mirror and go, dog, I look like Sandra Hardney. I'm talking like her and saying like her. Because those are things that's been instilled in us that you don't think that you're going to, forget. I remember as a kid, my mom, hi Sandra, I know you listening, be inside when the porch light come on.
That's right.
And she didn't mean when it started flickering, we were already at the top stair because we wanted, it was don't be just starting to come, be inside when the porch light come on. And now we look in neighborhoods where we see kids and we go, why are these babies outside this time of night? And who's watching 9, 10 o'clock in the nighttime?
And it goes back to, it's the malnourishment, and that's what I blame it to. A lot of folks just don't know any better. We have a lot of folks that you'll hear say, well, that person's messed up, or they don't blah 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 or whatever. But they don't know any better. They haven't been taught.
Right.
The things that I was raised up on, being 40, I try to instill in my child, and I'm not going to have it any other way because I turned out fine. Never been in jail. Never been locked up, never committed murder or anything like that. And I respect women most of all because that was one thing that I was raised to do. But you have folks now that are born into a certain environment and they don't know any differently than what's instilled in them right now because the people that's teaching them don't know.
Exactly. And I think us as citizens, whenever we get a chance, when we can, if we're close to a young person or a group of young people, to say, hey, come and go with me and let's go over these things and, teach them, and even the parents, because it does start with the parents, but if the parents don't know, there's not like a rule book. There's a book for you to get your driver's license, right? You got to go through training and all this, but there's no book on being a parent unless you are maybe a Christian. You got the Bible as your guide. Or some other religion, whatever book you have, or reference that you have that you can go to. But if we see that, if all of us just take that step and say, hey, even though these are not my kids, if they're receptive to you, then you have a receptive audience. And so don't be afraid to say, hey, grab them by the hand, say, hey, let's go do this, let's go do that. So let's talk. Let's have an open dialogue. And then even if it's with a small group of kids or whatever, then they'll tell their kids, hey, we're talking about this, we're talking about that. And that's how we impact our neighborhoods, which impacts the city, the state, and it goes forth from there. So I think it's time out for just talking about it. It's time to, do it. Yeah, be about it. Let's be about action. Because I think you hear this year after year after year after year, and still nothing is being done.
It's one of those things within our communities. We see the variety of things, and we talked about this the other day, that it's the lack of continuation of the focus that, okay, once the height of it, so to speak, is gone, that we tend to go away. We talk about saving our daughters. We talked about the Gina 6. We talked about the issue of Trayvon. We had the other young lady in Chicago that was beaten by the police at the Denny's. We just on and on, the violence in Chicago and Detroit, all the different things. We tend to, after a while, we let it go versus keep fighting. I want to move on to another topic that affects all of us, and it hurts our hearts, particularly Miss Tracy, regarding the young man that was chokehold and killed. In fact, all of us seen the video by now, and seen various news cases that say he was resisting arrest, all these other different things, but proper procedure was not followed through. The man didn't have any money on him, didn't have any cigarettes on him, didn't have anything. And regardless of whatever he was supposedly accused of or not, even if he was guilty, they follow wrong procedures, and it's sounded off by many police officers, sergeants, people all across the world. And it's another black mark on the New York Police Department. And one of the frustrating things about it is there are plenty of good officers there, but it's the largest enforcement in the U.S. outside of the agency outside of the Army. And it's not enough done either with training, and you see the racism. In fact, just not on the other side, but it's just you see the other officers who are of different ethnic races joining into this, and they're doing anything they can to keep people's cameras away. Your thoughts on all of this, Ms. Michelle?
I just thought it was just a very sad situation altogether. I mean, the poor man was innocent, minded his own business, and they just came and did what they did to him, and not even questioning him, asking what was going on, and just to see him actually being chokehold and laying forced on the ground with his face facing on the concrete. It was just a sad situation, and I just really feel bad for his family.
Sir?
The bad part about it is the police officer who took his job too seriously, he's going to be affected by this for the rest of his life as well. You have a wife that doesn't have a husband any longer, kids that don't have a father any longer. Being interested in law enforcement that we talked about sometime before, it's a lot that you have to go through. It's a lot that you have to deal with as an officer. Now, I will say this. When people get into their characters of work, especially police officers, sometimes they put that badge on, they put that uniform on, and it gives them an alter ego. It gives them this superpower. It's like a young man with a gun. You know, my father always said, doesn't mean because you have a gun, that doesn't mean you can't get shot. Well, I saw the video. I thought it was terrible because there's ways to get a larger person down.
Exactly.
All right. And if you notice and listen, he didn't jump on this man until he heard the backup coming. All right. And then he just jumped on him. And that was it. It's very unfortunate. And as a black man, I mean, I'm from the country. I lived in Richmond for a little while, but I'm from the country. You have it everywhere. You have it in the country, and you have it in the city. It's the way you dress, the way you talk, your name. If you have any strikes out there against you, they already take that and they run with it. It was a senseless death. It's terrible to even watch. It's disheartening. You think about the police officer supposed to save you and you want to call them, but at the end of the day, you know what? They're humans. They're humans, just like you or I.
It definitely was unfortunate and a sad situation, especially coming from New York City. And I look at this thing two ways. One is definitely, like the gentleman said, training. I know that New York City is so overtaxed in their police departments, but I also come from a long family of people in law enforcement, from way up there all the way down, and it is an alter ego. I've seen relatives of mine, they have to go into a different persona in order to survive in the streets. They have to become someone else. They have to become desensitized to certain situations because their life is on the line. So it is an unfortunate situation. The other part of that, though, and he briefly touched on it, is worth. And that's where I really get really upset about is worth, because if we say Rolls Royce, we know value. If we say Coach bag, we know value. If we say Louis Vuitton jeans or pocketbooks or whatever, we know value. Right. But when we say black man, there is no value. No. And until we as a people start reminding people of our worth and knowing our worth and knowing what you are as a young black man, okay? You hit right on it on the head. They didn't go after him because he was innocent. They went after him because he had a long criminal record. They knew who he was by face and by name. One of the things that I always instilled in my son is that the police don't need to know you. If they know you by face and by name, you got a problem. When they can call your name into the street, if they know that a crime happens in the area and your house is the first house that they're coming to, you got a problem. So immediately he had no worth. He had no value to them. All of the other stuff, the tragedy that happened, was unnecessary. But in their mindset, this was just a piece of trash on the street. And now he was doing a good deed, but when you have no worth, people don't see any good in value in you.
That's exactly right.
Mr. Boyce.
Wow, what a sad situation. I just think, I'm just thinking of the cop, the robo-cop or the hyper-vigilant cop. And what Tracy said about worth and value. My prayer is that when this cop goes before the judge, that the judge would be fair, that he would use the law correctly, and that the punishment would fit the crime.
Here's the issue I have with that. One, we'd be lucky if he gets charged. They just got taken for their position. But the issue I have with that, what they're fair, there's never going to be an equal. A man's life is gone. But what they're fair is so far beyond the reach. It's either you can't sue them because for whatever silly law they can come up with to prevent you, even if they could be held up in litigation. It was just Lord forgive me, I forgot the gentleman's name that got raped with the broomstick and beaten up with things. Yeah, it took 10, 15 years before and things like that. And the man struggled with homelessness, money, all types of stuff. It's it's just not, the system doesn't work.
It doesn't work, and it's a reason why it's called Just Us, because that's exactly what it is. And until we get involved in legislature, until we start voting and going to PTA meetings and doing all of these things or whatever, the problem, and Stephen and I talked, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, the thing that Stephen and I talked about the other night is that I'm tired of people marching. I'm tired of every time someone passes away, they send out the rally call for Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson and everybody to come. I mean, I've done the buses for the Jenna 6. I've done the thing for Trayvon Martin. And as soon as it goes away, it dies and nobody does anything. It's a memory until no one talked about that Trayvon Martin's year anniversary just passed. And everybody was in their hoodies, and all of the celebrities took their hoodie pictures, and they rallied the call. But that child is still dead, and the laws in Florida still exist.
Right.
And it didn't even work where the other soldier who was at some event fallout, and they were shooting at him. He pulled his gun out, and then he's in trouble in jail. Okay, and then you have the other lady who, Miss Alexander. So it's like, which way does it belong? So you've had representation of African Americans and other citizens of different ethnic backgrounds, situations where the law clearly supposed to follow the situation, and it still didn't work for them.
But I also want you to be mindful, because I have family members that work for the police department. I want you to be mindful of what they see and what everybody else sees and the world sees. They see our black young men killing each other.
Right.
So when you talk about value,
And
they
that's what I'm
see
talking about.
our
Worth.
black young men killing each other. So when you talk about value and worth, we have to instill in our men and women, especially our black men who holds the seed, okay, to know how to function in this world as a black male.
Say it one more time.
Okay.
Because that's what I'm talking about, worth. When they looked at that man, I've heard police officers say, hell, they're killing each other.
Exactly.
Why should we care?
And so when, I'm not sure how that policeman felt. I'm not sure exactly what was going on through his mind.
It's a big black man, I need to take him down. That's what it was.
I don't know. It's a matter of the heart, like the caller called in and he was talking about the issues of the heart. So that's why I said only he knows and only God knows exactly what was going on in his mind and in his heart and how he was feeling at the time. Now, if he so happens to get by, okay, there's no justice, and he did this purposely, that his heart wasn't right, believe me, you, it's going to haunt him for the rest of his life. So he won't be getting away. Right. They never get away.
Perception is everything, right?
It's going to haunt them for the rest of their lives. It's never done. We're thinking it's done. Oh, they got away. But for that person, it is never over.
The thing about it is, though, is as a New Yorker, I can tell you that the New York City Police Department has a long history of acts like this.
Right.
So it baffles my mind that something has never looked at that infrastructure and said, okay, you got to remember, back in the days, the whole New York City Police Department was comprised of nothing but Irish Americans. They own the New York City Police Department. It's only been within a couple of years that we could count on two hands that African Americans and other minority officers come in. No one went back and started doing the training. So all of those old methodologies and thought processes and stuff, it's the good old boy network. It's still there. Police officers, this is not the first time. I remember before I moved down here in 91, a police officer beat to death a 65-year-old woman in her house. Mm-hmm. Okay? The young man, Abu, that was raped with the broom handle. Okay, let's go back to, I mean, it's just endless. The young man who was shot to death outside of the club, on his wedding night. Yeah. So this is nothing new. It goes back to just what you said, sister, worth and value. Until we as a people start standing up and talking about our worth and value,
Exactly.
they don't value us. It goes back to that old slave plantation mentality that you're expendable.
Right.
We'll just go to market and pick another one. Right. That's the mentality that we're dealing with. So my question is, where do we, to the men here, get our men? Because the women are already on the path. It's our men that we have to get in order.
Okay, here's a couple of ways for it, and I pounced it on our head to the highest moon, and I'll say it again. 2 parts. Remember, even with the people that are here up north, even though they weren't considered a minority, they were like, we were minority, and they were like 1A. You had Irish, you had the French, the Dutch, the Netherlands, and the Germans. They all teased and things like that. If you weren't from Britain or somewhere else, you were cool. But they still treated them not as bad as us, but they still treated them bad. Now, what happened then? They got into the weapons, the stereotypical things, gangs, weapons, churches, lawyers, and all their children, no matter what, you were not getting involved in the business. You were going to be a lawyer, doctor, whatever. Heck, you said you were a Godfather situation. And what did they all end up doing? They all pushed them into politics, city leaders, whatever. Now, what happened from late 50s on? Who do you all have in the government now? Not so much the British, but the German, the Irish, the Dutch, all those other different heritages that were first put down. So now we need to go back encouraging our children, go back to do this, and the same thing to put ourselves. Maybe you and I may not be we may become lawyers or whatever. And not necessarily those positions, but something of worth to make ourselves worthy. The other thing is go back into the education. Why 1 out of every 4 kid in New York, the highest in the nation, is not, 3 out of 4 are not graduating high school. And things that to me, I've said it again, whether you want to go to college or trans school, whatever you want to do, but it should be a law, okay, that you have to graduate high school. We're the only country, the developed country, that do not take education seriously and things. And then now when we try to go off and do things of charter schools, then those who are sub-middle class and poor want to pick on the other people because, you think you're better, you put your kid in better school. Okay, some do. Right, I know. And then some of them, and I think about the CNN special that they did about Black America. Yes, some of them did have a bougie attitude and things like that, but they saw something and took an opportunity. Remember in the middle of Ohio, the lady got in trouble and they threw her in jail because her kids went to a school district 1 or 2 school districts away. And she said, I'll be damned, since you're not going to try to do anything in my district, I'm going to take the opportunity to make the best for my child. So that's what we got to get into the mindset and start coming down on me, you, and you, since they're saying, we're not going to do this, don't tell me what to do. How many times I posted online for the time that y'all have known me, how many times I've talked about sending your kids overseas, schools overseas. Get a passport for your child. It stays posted on my notes.
Homeschooling. Online schooling, okay. They have.
Right, okay, that's fine too. But still getting kids involved. I bet you just for $1,000 you can send your kid to maybe not some of the better places, but that's fine too. Get your kids over there, learn how it is. There was a great show that did not get any ratings on MTV where they sent these kids to these extreme hardship things where you literally walk in Mongolian desert for 2 weeks. Their fuel is, we're hoping, they're not feeding themselves, okay? They feeding their animals, hoping to get enough done so they could get fuel for a night and not freeze in the desert at night. That's how they live, and they farm and travel 200 miles with their animal to go back to feed, take whatever they found to the market, and they do it again for the rest of their lives. That's what they live for. And then you want to complain about this? So that's where us black men need to get back into it, especially, and not forget about the women, but get back into it and say, look, we need to take a stand.
Well, they have to know, the black men, they have to know the definition of being a man. If they've never been taught, they don't know. Also,
let's say that again one more time. Make sure it's recorded. We're gonna mark the tape. 7:52. Say that one more time.
If they need to learn how to be a man, but if they've never been taught, then they don't know. I was fortunate to have 4 well, more than that, because I've got 72 first cousins. So you figure the parents and the males in that family were all that tight where it took a village to raise a child. Well, all of the males in my family were strong. And they taught us from my grandfather down the values of, 1, you being a man, 2, your family, 3, your wife and so forth, or his wife and then family, excuse me. But it was instilled in us. You know, all my cousins are the same way, same exact way. We're the same exact way. One of the problems that I see is when you try to introduce something to a generation that they don't know anything about, they're afraid of it because they feel that it may change their classification and they may be looked down upon like, oh, you are being bougie. No, it's not being bougie. You're just changing what you're used to and educating yourself. You know, there's nothing wrong with change. So a lot of the males that I talk to, like from the country, and they come in here, I noticed that a lot of the guys in the country are trying to live this urban life. Well, that's a character that you really don't know anything about. Don't be that character. That's something they were born into. You know, go back to what your grandfather and your father taught you. Maybe get some of these cats in the inner city and show them. And that's exactly what I did when I moved to Richmond. You know, don't get me wrong, and we talked about this. When I came to Richmond, I grabbed Richmond by the horns and I rode it out. But my foundation was always strong. So when I took some of these guys back out to the country, you know, it was like, man, I didn't know this or that. I didn't know the stars were bright, and I didn't know that families do this or do that. And it made me feel kind of embarrassed because that's all I know. You know, coming from the country, you see stuff on TV and it's like, that don't happen really. But when I came to the city, starting in Newport News and then moving up here, it's like, wow, this really does happen. You know
one of the biggest things I've always found when I went overseas several times, and the guy was like saying, you know, I appreciate you. And he said, all the black men in America, all are shown either through media, and he says not even just the media, because you know we tend to say the media, but a lot of times we can't blame the media if we don't give it to them. That's right. Okay, so he said there and said every time I get the black people over here, they act a fool, cuss, complain, the pants sucked down, everything. They don't hold nowhere near the same values of your culture than the black people over in Europe or in Asia or what have you. I was in Turkey. The man would say thank you and things like I tell this story every single time and I laugh. When I got over to Europe, I'm sorry, we went to Germany. And as soon as I came off the plane, I was the only black man in the crew. It was about 18, 19 of us. A couple of women, and then the rest were white males. Guy approached me and said, thank you, sir, for bringing your team. I was not the leader. I was not the owner, but he just walked up and thank you and everything. Sat me in front of him, had me sign all the paper. The project manager, the junior project manager, and the supervisor were pissed off. Like, what the heck? And things of that nature. And gave me, now, I had to tell them correctly it was his room, but they were going to give me his master suite. But to read off a couple of comments and things. First of all, I want to thank everybody that's listening out there from LegacyInternetRadio.com, also from the MixLR page, and also on the TuneIn application. Thank you, Coach Ellis Crum. Thank you, Ms. Arjanette. Thank you, Mr. Cutting Edge. Thank you, Maestro 88. Thank you, S.Y. Butler. I appreciate all of y'all for joining in the conversation. Coach Crum posted, those other coaches actually value entrepreneurship. Black folks value jobs employed by somebody else and not having businesses of their own.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
I would like to make a comment because as I was sitting here, I was thinking about that. A bishop once told this story. He was looking into a private school. So he was like, okay, tell me, do you guys have like playtime for your kids? And they were like, no, we don't have playtime for kids. And he was like, okay. He said, well, do you have shop? And they were like, no, we don't teach such classes. And he started to say, well, why? Why? And he was like, listen, we teach our kids here to be leaders so they can own the shop and the other people can work for them. So when you made that statement, I was like, oh, and we teach them rowing and tennis and swimming and this and that because that encourages teamwork.
Exactly.
To learn how to operate as a team and communicate and work through things.
But
as I was thinking about that, I was like, it was a total different mindset. And I'm not saying that you have to take your kid to a private school. That's not what I'm saying. But the mindset. I remember looking at a documentary in there was this couple out in Washington State. They didn't take their kids to school. They homeschooled their kids, and like I said earlier, online. They weren't spending all that money. They said, no, we're not spending all that money. Even for public school, you got to do pencils, paper, and all this books, whatever else fees that you have to pay throughout the year. And they said, no, we're not going to go that route. And I just thought that was a different way of looking at education. Because if there's an opportunity for you to do this for your kid, then it's like, why haven't we thought about that? Because some kids do better apart from other kids.
I think what the coach said, and I'm not, no disrespect, but I'm not a big fan of homeschool only because I believe kids need to be socialized. I think that when they get locked up and locked away, then when they get out in the world, they kind of go like crazy.
Yeah, socialization
right?
is a part. Is a part of the homeschooling.
And that's what angers me, because they do not include that. That should be a requirement.
That is a part of a good home-based school program.
Because that was one of my major concerns. But in piggybacking off of what you said, you're 100% right. I'm going to tell my age, but years ago when I was in elementary school, we learned finances. In New York, there was a bank called Manufacturers Hanover. They're gone now. But we used to have to bring a quarter every Thursday, and they would deposit it into our savings account. And this savings account went with you to whatever school you went through. You guys call it middle school. We call it junior high school. But in junior high school and in high school, you had the option to either cash out or transfer it over to college. And we learned how to balance our checkbooks. We learned how to do different things that they don't teach anymore.
And that was probably a northern thing, because I think of the South, when I go up to New York, and I'm like, these great schools, they have a business school, they have a this school, they have that. I was like, we didn't have that in the South.
No, that was a Reconstruction issue.
Okay, I was like, what in the world is going on?
Ms.
But as far, as you go up north, things
But I
are a
think
little bit better.
Mr. Ellis had a value point, because I have a girlfriend, and in their family, owning property is something that they do. Right. They all get together, and it's just like recently I have a business opportunity, and I can't tell you the countless amount of family people that I called and that I know that could get their hair done, their nails done, and everything else. But to talk about something for the long term, it's kind of like pulling teeth. I talked to a cousin earlier who at minimum, now I'm a designer pocketbook chick too, let's not get it twisted, but at minimum buys a pocketbook a week, but will not invest in herself. And one of the things that I always tell people when I'm speaking is you have to invest in yourself before other people will invest in you.
You have to invest in your future.
Exactly.
We just think about the here and now.
But the key thing is what this gentleman said. I honestly think a lot of our youth don't see no future. Right. So the reason why they live in this microwave society of let me get mines right now is because a lot of them don't see, I'm 51 years old, a lot of them don't see themselves at 51 years old. Right. A lot of them don't see themselves beyond 25 years old.
Right.
So they live for this, I gotta have it right now, give it to me right now. They don't wait. Then we do crazy things. We don't pay attention. We don't understand why the rent-to-own places only open up in our neighborhood. Okay?
Yeah, they just now started opening up in
Exactly. Or the check cash in place, or the payday advance loan,
or the ABC stores.
We don't pay attention to those things, okay? And so we don't even pay attention to that the Asians will open up a hair supply place that they don't even make us feel comfortable in coming in, but they will open up right in our neighborhood and get rich. The other things that we don't do is, for as long as I've been in when I was in property management, okay, and the funny thing is a lot of people don't realize there's a reason why Africans don't relate to us. People automatically feel, okay, well, y'all are all African American, y'all should relate, but they see us as lazy. Their kids and wasteful. Yeah. Their kids work. I have the opportunity to have a very mixed family, and my grandmother is Japanese, and the things that she talks about is just like, when you look at the different spectrum of the thing of just how they take care of their man, just how the things that they do for their household or whatever. So their kids value education. The other thing that I want to get off of the habit of is stop calling us bougie. Okay? My mother paid a great sacrifice for the education that I've been allowed to have. I don't consider myself bougie. I consider myself educated. I consider myself grateful that my mother walked with holes in her shoes, literally, so I could get an extra notebook. That my mother recycled a lot of stuff that she did without. I remember my mother going to bed with eating a chicken leg so me and my sister can have a full meal. So I don't consider myself bougie. And I think the other thing before I finish is that black people have to start being prejudiced against black people. We can't help and stop other races from looking down on us if we don't stop looking down on us. If you talk well, you think you all of that. Okay? If you dress well, you think you all of that, or whatever. If you're light skinned, remember Spike Lee's School Days, good and bad hair. If you're dark skinned, paybacks. We have to stop doing that, because then the other races sit back and they cross their arm and they look at us and they go, look at these fools here.
And you know what? There's a couple of things I want to jump on that. First, I want to give to a comment, Ms. Orjanette O'Brien. Thank you for responding. She said she totally agree. We must prepare our kids for corporate America, social skills, and imperative for effective leadership and management. Great statement. Great way you phrase that. One of the things I tell about this whole light skin, dark skin, or the hair, the good and bad, all those different things, 2 points. One, if you think about what other cultures have to go through when it came to color, what we go through is nothing compared to what someone went through in, let's say, India. The northern India, southern India, they darn near. You want to talk about killing, or better yet, don't let somebody in Japan marry somebody who's Korean or Asian or certain other parts. So these things were, and it wasn't even about color. It was just the fact of how you acted and interacted with each other. Most people, if you have any common sense, could care less who you are, how much money you are, what race you are, even gender. As long as you have some type of morals and you're trying to do right by my son and or daughter. But that's where the line drops, and where people need to go further from there. You mentioned about the other favorite color. There was a recent article posted about the Indolay movie they want to make. And they had, you familiar with the movies, they had A, B, C, D in a level of importance. But all the great roles were for, the better side roles were for fair skin, light, what have you, and versus everything else. You've been with us and you see how well you're treated versus I or anybody else. Or, better yet, when we talk about businesses, and we got in touched on it a little bit, we don't teach our children money. And it's one of the bigger things that irritate me. I hear a lot of kids say, I didn't know how much my mom make, or I didn't know whatever. They just assume. But you should. And I'll tell you why, so you know how, because it's like, the reason why you should, so you know how much. You think it just magically falling apart air. You don't know if mom's working 2 jobs, 3 jobs after this. One of the things my grandmother and my mom did a lot of times, she showed me a check. We went to, I remember every other Friday, we going downtown, catching a bus to cash the check, buying whatever, and whatever else, what was left, you may or may not get, or you had to held to the following week.
Some kids are not even given chores to do. They don't know. No. They don't know how to do anything.
No, and there's websites. Right. There's websites I post all the time. One of them called Teaching Kids Money, Teaching Money. There's tons of sites. When I send the parents to kids and telling them about what was it, Nick Jr. or the Disney thing, there's tons of great information on those sites, and even the play sites on education, but they focus on, they let the kids go to games. And I tell them, block the games, go to the education stuff. And it's just crazy how they always do everything else.
If I could just say one thing. One of the things that's funny is because our children have education ADD. Okay, so what happens is that the games become a built-in babysitter.
Before we leave, Mr. Boyce, who's escaping out of us, who we're not supposed to, for any future reference, when you come on the show, you're not allowed to leave early. But this woman here is just getting a pass, the one only pass you will get. So you must tell everybody bye. You got to have a mic, please.
Yeah, I'm gonna tip out, but I will be back. I really enjoy the conversation. It's good conversation and provoking thought, and so continue on.
And when I'm getting to dinner tomorrow, for you leaving early?
Dinner?
Yes, something, food, breakfast, lunch, dinner. And then you better bake a cake, do whatever you got to do. There's laws to Enliven Radio. Okay, I want to get a couple of comments. Mr. Croach Crumb offered, he said, you can't teach kids about money if all you know is that it comes in and leads immediately to bills. Very good point. And Mr. Cutner says, we can't continue to see education as an individual accomplishment, but as a pathway to uplifting the entire community. Our people have enough individuals. We need leaders.
You know, but you got to care first. You know, you have to care. You know, it's a whole lot that happens behind it. Well, it's a whole lot that doesn't happen that's supposed to happen behind the scenes before you let your kids or your spouses or whatever out into society. Well, you got to know something to care about it. And I keep preaching that, but that's what it falls on. They don't know. When they don't know, it's like what you were saying. I'm going to spin off of that. African Americans are our worst critic. I'm African American, all right? But they're our worst critics. But in the same token, we do it to ourselves. And you have other races sitting back saying, you know what? Y'all had it living in the lap of luxury here, and I'm watching y'all just kill each other or walk around, not do a darn thing with your life besides make a whole bunch of kids, try to live off the system. I'm helping you. There's nothing wrong with the system. But when you rely on it after 25 or 30 years, and then you riding around with nice cars and big wheels and 102-inch TVs in your home, well, I have a problem with that. Right. Okay. Right. We fear what we don't know. I agree. Comes with businesses, like you said. Your family, my family, we have. That's what we have. We have land.
They right. know it. They just don't want it. The low hanging fruit.
No, right, exactly. They don't.
Some of them don't know. Some of them don't know. And just like Coach said, okay, a lot of them don't know. I worked in subsidized housing, okay? And subsidized housing is the worst thing that happened to our people, period.
Yes.
That and the welfare. Because it got off of focus of what it was supposed to be about. Okay? But you have parents who don't no longer want to deal with their children and their problem, so they bring them over, they get them on the wait list, they put them in subsidized housing, and then that landlord can't understand why this child is wreaking havoc. Is because they've not been taught. They've not been taught. One of the things when I worked in subsidized housing is I co-partnered with agencies to teach housekeeping, to teach the things that, okay, everybody assumes that just because a person is old enough to get an apartment, they know how to live. No. Some of these young ladies don't even know how to wash a dish, mop a floor. Some of them don't know about taking trash out. Then some of them have, I'm free now. I'm no longer in my mother's house, and now it becomes their own. Then you have your predators. What I mean by predators is you have some lazy ass man that's living out there that now has some chick that got free rent,
right?
A refrigerator full of food off of food stamps. So now her boo thing comes and crash. Meanwhile, his other apartment is all the way across town.
Correct.
Okay, and so then they come over and they wreak havoc in her neighborhood because there's no accountability. He has nothing tying him to that neighborhood.
And free open legs.
Secondly, we have parents, men or women, who have been incarcerated, and the plan of this modern day slavery is that now when they get out, they cannot return back to the home because mentally they've enslaved your mind to say if you take your husband or your wife back, you're going to lose this benefit. And so now we're sneaking like slaves, letting them live there illegally just so they don't know. So you have all of this stuff that's going on, and then we can't understand why our kids are screwed up.
And then one of the craziest thing you mentioned and said, so in some cases yes, but even if you don't know, okay, but you know that you don't know is what I'm trying to make a point.
How would you know if you never know?
Right? How would you know?
Okay.
If you've never been
have you ever
introduced
eaten
to it?
snails?
No.
How do you know what they taste like?
Correct.
Okay, good point.
And they're good. But if it's not introduced to you, and see, like you just said a little while ago, sometimes if we can't put our hands on it right now, or
we think of it tangible,
right? Anything tangible, they cannot see it. Half of the folks, I'm sure, don't even know what a credit score is,
right?
Or how to obtain it,
right?
You know, and then to go, but what you said, you put these furniture rental places in, and they're like, oh man, I got some furniture and I'm only paying $100 a week, or blah blah blah. I said, what's the interest rate on it? Oh, 25 point something. I said, well, do you know that you're paying 3 or 4 times? You know,
Winter Center and everything.
Hey, we could go down to blah 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 and get it.
If I just hold that if you hold that $100 for like 2 months,
but someone had to tell them.
Someone had to tell them.
I had young ladies that would come in and they would go, Miss Scott, they said that they sent over a verification and they haven't got it back because I didn't fill it out. Come, sit down. Let me show you this. By the time you finish paying for this is the bottom line. You done bought 4 of these.
Yes.
Now, if you go and you put this money up every week, because you're saying you could pay these people every week, put this money up every week, and guess what? There's going to be a sale coming on Memorial Day or some other thing, and you show them. But someone has to care, like Tangela said, to show them, because they legitimately don't know. You have babies having babies. You have grandmothers that are in their late 20s.
Yes.
Okay, so who's showing them? Who's teaching them these things? Okay, I had an uncle, God bless the dead, and my Uncle Ronald could do hair. You know, he used to do our pigtails and all kinds of stuff. And my point is that my grandmother instilled in him skills that he can cook.
Yes.
You would love for Uncle Ronald to cook. Yeah. Now everything is like, okay, what y'all want to eat? And then they pick up a menu. Or I'm going to McDonald's. Or I'm going
Here's
to
the credit card. I'm going to order and go from there.
Didn't our parents prepare out meals? And not only did they prepare out meals, they cooked enough where you got the Tupperware bowls out. Things got frozen
at least 2 or 3 days.
2 or 3 days.
Right.
Or if you're going to go out, eat healthy. Right. I'm going to give you an example, okay? I'm sorry to use New York for reference, or D.C. so much, but, okay, you can order online and get, depending on where you live, obviously, but you can order and get food delivered. But you can get quality food and things of that and make it last. I know if I'm going to get a meal with some chicken or this, that, and other, maybe 25. But I can eat off of that and make it last throughout maybe 2 or 3 days at the very least. So I'm getting my money's worth. I'm not going to order this wings for the night that's only going to be just enough for that, knowing if I need something else later on down the line, or it just depends, or I give you better yet. Okay, one of the worst things I understand it to a point. Okay, the food vouchers, okay, they give you can't get hot meals at the point. I did not like that to a point, because some places you don't have hot meals, or like the shelters or things like that. You can't bring a hot plate. You can barely find one these days, but you can't get hot food. So what is it to those people with small children who do need something warm to eat? Not necessary. But if I get a voucher, okay, instead of spending $5 or $6 and getting that cold sandwich or the restaurant that's going to hook me up to get a hot meal, why not get so? And I know some may not like it, but the rice, the cereal, the salads, all these other different things, and the vegetables that can last me. Or there's grocery stores within your area. Even if we talk about Whole Foods, in certain areas, we talk about Whole Foods and everything else. Okay, we get that, but right down the street, there's 3 or 4 food lines and the things of that nature. You can still get a few things here and there.
They haven't been exposed to it. Just like when I was growing up, my grandmother had a garden in her backyard. So I was exposed to tomatoes, the squash, the green beans. I had hands-on experience with that. So now I know how to cook that, but those coming up now, the young ones don't know how to do that, or go to a grocery store and say, hey, let me get fresh vegetables. They get the canned ones. They have to know that. Someone has to be able to teach them that.
But let me expand on that, and I'm going to flip it totally around from experience. They can't afford it.
Exactly.
It's easier. Okay, you keep saying that there's 3 or 4 grocery stores in their neighborhood, but those 3 or 4 grocery stores are the most expensive grocery stores.
No, when I was referring that, I'm sorry. When I was referring that, I was saying here Like down the street, there's 3.
But even with
but I
that,
know, not saying everywhere it's not available.
they can't afford it.
Right.
Because
obviously.
realistically, the store that's in their neighborhood
It's
is
way too
overpriced,
expensive.
and it doesn't have it. It's easier to go get a $1 menu meal from McDonald's than it is to go to a restaurant. And then the average one has more than 1 to 2 kids. So that within itself becomes really, really costly.
A bag of apples is $7, $8, $9. You know, just crazy. You know, when I travel a lot and I post pictures online, and people was like, I don't understand why, but I did it for a purpose when I was going back and forth, so to show people how. I posted the pictures of how to take a bus using the different Asian American Chinese buses, how to get back, how to use the Greyhound, how much it costs. People was like, well, why are you doing? It's just to show, because there's plenty of people here that have never seen the daylight outside of Henrico County. Or you go to New York, this is what it looks like, here is the pictures, but this is what it costs to get to all these different things. So it's not always glitz and glamour.
But the other thing about that is that one of the things that I learned from my grandmother was thrift shopping. I love going to the thrift store, okay? And because I'm an event planner, a lot of times I go to the thrift store for little things, okay? And the funny thing is, when you go in thrift store, you rarely see black people. You see Hispanics, you see Caucasians, but you don't see black people. Now, me and my sister were born and raised in the same house. You can't pay my sister to go in a thrift store. It's like if she walks in the door, she thinks that like there's a camera on her going, look, she's in the thrift store. She just like is above and beyond. But then when I get something out, she say, you got this from a thrift store? Sometimes there's even new stuff. In a thrift store. That's right. So
they throw that stuff out after a year.
But they don't take advantage of it. But I remember one of the projects that we had in school is we actually had to go to a thrift store and get a work outfit from head to toe.
You had this budget. It was $12.
Exactly. This was your budget. And it taught you to appreciate the things. And this is one of the reasons why I give to thrift stores things that I'm not going to wear this and go. Because there are people out there that need these type of things. Okay. The thrift stores that I won't support is the ones that if it doesn't have a price tag on it, they can't sell it to you until they get a price. Because I'm like, you got it for free. So anything that you get for it is like 100%.
Or basically, like if I get a pair of jeans, you got to charge it the same amount, if not more, for than it is at Walmart. That irritates the living daylights out of me.
You got it for free. But that's in the part, I think, from somebody who has worked in subsidized housing and looked at the system is failing. It's been failing for quite some time, and we talk about it, but legislature is not doing it because it's a monopoly. It's meant to fail. Do you know in subsidized housing, the worse a subsidized housing project is, the more money they filter into it?
That was the only thing that got kicked off in the Reagan administration. First of all, they put it up there, but then they purposely limited the housing. So now you said, okay, we're going to put it in this neighborhood for this amount of housing, deal with it. So you didn't even fund it correctly, just like when they did the No Child Left Behind, which was crap to begin with.
Here in the city of Richmond, it's hard to even evict someone out of subsidized housing because the Job's mentality is, where are they going to go?
And it's like that in the country too.
Okay, where
because
are they going to
my
go?
wife and I, we have rental properties, and it's crazy, but the tenants, they have more rights than the landlords, and it's unreal. You can't even. And especially if they have some type of mental illness or something.
Oh, you can forget it.
Oh yeah,
And then every other child is in social services. Every other child in the housing or even in the country is in social services. So we're not going to kick you out.
Right.
I mean, even that department is failing. I mean, I've called numerous of times for apartments with issues, and I'm like, some of these kids have counselors, and I'm like, there's no way your counselor came here and seen this house or seen this child in this condition and you still have them. So again, the system is failing, but it goes back to what we started in the beginning. What is your worth? Because if people do not see you worthy, they will not pour into you. Right. And we have to start pouring into each other. We have to say, 3 years ago, a neighbor of my mother's, who my mother used to babysit, little boy, he was beaten to death by his mother's boyfriend in Henrico County. And one of the things that I remember about that profoundly is that after he died, so many people stood out there and said, I knew something wasn't right. I
Where
seen
were you?
something
But
wasn't
where were
right.
you all the
And I
time?
was just like, well, why did somebody make the call? And it was just not my baby, not my problem. And that's how we are as a people. Everything is not my baby, not my problem. Whereas before, you know, my grandfather, if my grandfather was outside changing his tire, the neighbor across the street be like, "El, you need any help with that?"
Right.
You know, now
They
people be
would
like,
just come on over.
exactly,
They would
come on over.
right,
I
and
got
help you
this,
out.
I got that.
Right.
My grandmother was the big mama of the neighborhood. She took care of everybody's kids. Everybody's
so it
kids
was
was
my
at.
grandmother, too.
Where are the big mamas now? Where are they? Because we really, really need
My
them.
They
grandmother
don't have that title anymore because the big mamas are raising the grandmothers.
Big mamas in the club.
They're raising the grandmothers, and they turn into great grandmothers. You know what I'm saying?
My grandmother was in her
Right.
40s when I was born, and that was late. And so, and even then, we mentioned about age, kids having kids. You know, the only flip side to that, and I agree with you, but the only flip side to that is back then, before the child labor laws and things, kids were you were considered a sinful child, or a sinful woman if you didn't have a kid by the time you were 15, 16 anyway. So it was young kids at that time, but you still had to make sure you get all these different trainings. Somebody was still old enough to step
The
in.
value system was different. The value system was different because my niece's grandmother had 14 kids. But all of them are educated. All of them have degrees. All
My
of them
great-grandmother
either
was like
own
that.
businesses or co-own businesses or whatever. The value system was totally different.
My great grandmother had 13 or 14 of them, and all the men went into the military. That was it. Because there was no opportunity.
Right, no opportunity.
And so, even then, you look at even here, and granted, I'm not always for them sometimes, but you can either say Richmond, D.C., Jacksonville, Florida, New York, whatever. Even if you don't go to the major schools, it's fine. Even the community colleges, fine. Get a trade. Get a skill. Get some, and preferably get 4. Because you never know there's no more jobs you're going to get. I keep fussing with my mother about this. You're not going to get a job to stay there 50 years. You're not going to get a job. You'd be lucky to get a job to stay there for a year. Even when you are a full-time person, you're in more trouble to lose your job when you're a full-time than you're a contractor. So after 9 months, a year, 12, 13 months, okay, cool. We need to save some more money. See ya. Because now you're worth more value. I need to get rid of you. And so that's where it goes. I want to get a couple of comments of Mr. Cutting Edge. Thank you for joining in. He says the system was designed to tear the black family apart. Now it helped us. And to your comments earlier, he said kablam. We'll go on to another topic here. The value of, and we talked about this with women, but I want to take it to the next further. The rape culture. We had a situation report that came out regarding all the colleges and many of the major colleges about the value of rape, how it's not taken seriously. We've seen the situations in the military, the rape culture in the military. Recently, there's various accusations of the gentleman that recently won the Heisman, Winston. Still don't know the situation, but it's just amazing how everything they could say all what they want. That, we're not rushing the decision based on the Heisman Trophy decision. That's a bunch of bull. Because, most investigations take longer, or if it's quick evidence is right there. You're not going to, the decision came out 2 or 3 days before the mailings of the Heisman had to come in, the decision. He wins it. And it's like, or even every time there's a situation, she backs down, we're going to cover it up, we're going to kick you out of school. Then we recently had the big thing of I am Jada, and we had a Jada pose. Are you familiar with what happened with the Jada pose? There's a young woman that was in Houston that was raped. She went out with some friends, whatever. She was drugged. And don't know what happened. She even had the glass in her hand, I think. But whatever happened, she was drugged and raped. And she woke up with her clothes disheveled. She's laying on the ground with her legs open. Her parts are showing. Her hands are crossed. Leg kicked back and turned to the side. Stupidly, kids and even adults, okay, both of all cultures or races, took pictures laying on the ground, the same pose of her and the Jada pose. So it's now her rape went viral. And I'm just like, why? And then this is not the only time. There's people who was just recently raped. She's knocked out or fighting, maybe awake, and they taking pictures or video recording like a sex tape and then posting it online. And it's like, oh, it's bad enough. You got the sexting and all the other stuff. Okay, this is fine, whatever. But with the adults. But now you got kids videotaping women and men being raped.
Well, I can't say that every person that's raped is a victim. No. I will say this, and this goes back to the teachings that I was taught growing up. First of all, you shouldn't be drinking or taking anything. Some people take stuff, experimenting with it, and then this is what happens. All right.
Consequence.
If you're drinking something, always have your hand over your cup. If you're around someone, take your glass with you. You know there's stuff out there. Heck, there's movies out there, Hangover 3, where roofies will just cause these people to do anything. You get what I'm saying? So, but then also, I'm not saying that some of these folks have not been raped. I believe that you have some sexual predators out there, men that just think it's cute to do this type of stuff. Well, when everybody's all drugged up, you don't know what you're doing. But I do know this. I do know that there's a story called Cry Wolf. And I think that whole cry wolf thing has been abused quite a bit because it's kind of overlooked. You have some folks that are getting out of jail now after 20 or 30 years saying that this person raped me or whether it's black or white or whatever, and then DNA proves later on after 30 years, well, look at this man or woman's life or whatever. It's shot. So I think now some women will call rape when something's happened between that person and her, like she's breaking up with them, or you get what I'm saying, she's playing the victim role. So it's kind of frowned upon, like, well how can we prove it?
Okay,
you prove it to me that you got raped by this man or woman.
Okay, because I wanted you to, and I'm glad you clarified that. And Coach Crum, please respond and think, because he made a call, if you like. He made a comment and said, hold on. He said, did you say that every woman raped is not a victim? But you're trying to clarify that the situation is that for every situation that they cry rape, it was not a rape. They're using it as...
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
The terminology has become too broad, I think, is what he's saying. That people are using that. Like if I broke up with him, I mean, because I've known firsthand, again, in subsidized housing, women who now their boyfriend did something wrong or whatever, they broke up, they caught him cheating, and so this was the way to get even. Mm-hmm. So we just have to make sure the word is used too broad. But I think in going back, since the dawn of time, women have always been second-class citizens.
And that's the thing that pisses me off.
With women being second-class citizens, again, it goes back to worth. We talk about, the women's movement. We talk about women's rights. We talk about our sisters that burnt their bra and they marched in the whole nine. And you would think in this day and age where we have women running some of the major Fortune 500 companies, but they're still deemed as second-class citizens. And when you're second, that means that you're not good enough to be first. So when you're coming up with these things, the laws are being dictated by men. The governing body is being dictated by men. Now the shift has come where now we have men who are being violated. We have young boys that are being violated. And so now we have to go back and we have to look at these things, because now the second class citizen, the woman, has now have to embrace that man, because most men are not man enough to deal with a man that's been violated. One of the things we hear is, come on, man, she took advantage of you. Man up. Come on. What you talking about? And so, again, we talked about this. I talked about this on my show. We talked about it with you. Hurt people hurt. These are manifestations of some form of behavior. And so they're going out and they're hurting people and doing things recklessly, but no one's speaking up. There's very few men group out there representing young men who have been violated. There are men that are afraid to speak up and say that they've been violated, not because they don't know it's wrong and not because they've been hurt, but because then their manhood comes into question, okay? Men start looking at them funny. And if you're a young man in that 18 to 20-something cusp, you got athletes now that have come out now that they're in their 30s and their 40s, and they have wives that they've been able to talk to and come out and say, this is what happened to me. I think what the young man was saying is an excellent point, because if we think about when that whole thing came out with Michael Jackson, he took that to the grave. None of us never knows what happened, but we are clear that there were some people who started crying that they were raped strictly because there was a price tag attached to it.
That's right.
Yes.
And so it's a scary situation. The other thing is, I say to my sisters is that I don't know what household you grew up in, but my mother taught me at an early age, if you walk away from a glass, it's done.
It's done.
You don't drink it. No one brings me up until this day. My mother could tell you, someone to come and they'll say, oh, I'm going to get this for Tracy to drink. And she goes, she ain't going to drink that.
Right.
And they go, why? Because it's open.
Right.
She ain't going to drink it. Those are things that our mother instilled in us at an early age. I don't think drinking gives you the right, or being doped up or whatever gives anybody the right to be violated. But in this young man's defense, think about those boys in New York, the Central Park gang rape, that did jail time, that were persecuted, that did a whole lot of things, only to find out now they had nothing to do with it.
And then their lives was torn up for very bad. We talked about this,
that's right,
how this was going on, and this needs to stop. And then when we try to say something against it, we're wrong. Keep quiet, do whatever. And there's no avenues. You mentioned the housing, things of that nature. I stated over 1 million times about the situation I go through, and I'm in that interesting dichotomy, whereas I didn't grow up with that culture, the background. I don't have that mindset. Not saying I could do it, but I'm not going to go hustle or do that other. But I'm educated enough to try to make something of myself. But if I did not have that ding, 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 dinger behind my name of the word felony, how much further would I have been? How much further the major Fortune 500 to $300,000-$400,000 jobs I have lost? Well, at that moment, because I'm not going to say continue, because I'm not going to speak against me for something like that. But at the same time, I bless God for what I do have, because of all the wonderful things that came around because of that loss. So to me, it's not a loss in some ways.
Well, I'm going to go back to what I said about every woman that's been raped has not always been raped, or she's screaming rape. This is the era of threesomes. Everybody wants to do it. They're experimenting all day, young and old.
Well, the camera's the third person too.
Exactly. Well, this is a problem that I see, and I've seen thus far. You do this threesome, you're all drugged up, you find out later on that they put this stuff on the internet. Well, you know what you want to do to help your character? I've been raped. And it could have been something that you consented to do. It's something that you wanted to do. It may have been something in the back of your mind you've always wanted to try it. And when you're drug induced, all of that stuff comes to the forefront. So that's why I said that when some of them that yell rape, haven't been raped. They just use it to try to clear their name. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some predators again, and I can't stand them. But I mean, that's a proven fact.
Ellis Crum, Coach Crum said that his daughter, criminal justice major, hey, younger, I know how you doing. But she says that less than 10% of rapes reported are from those who cry wolf, which is true. And he says, show you right, man, your manhood is in question. And it goes along the line of we got to do better regarding those things. And tell the truth, because I'd rather you make the mistake and says, look, I slept with somebody, I didn't want to, whatever the situation. Don't cry rape just thinking you're going to get the sympathy vote and things like that, because now all you're doing is tearing down women for the structure of, and this is not just a race issue, it's just women, period. You're tearing down the gender, and B, you're making it harder for yourself further down the line, and 3, how your soul and heart going to be in that you took this man or woman through hell and back for a lie that you put out there.
Right.
I think piggybacking off of that, though, one of the things that I caution is that we have to also stop victimizing the victim. Because for those cases that there is a victim, they should not have to become a victim again and be raped by a system.
Big time. Is it the protection, the level of concern, care, all those different things is a big issue. The next issue I want to go back on different take before I get to the last major one. Is there's a situation in housing in New York that Mr. Cutting Edge posted. I'm sorry, I forgot the comments. Posted. He said that you can't dilute rape, and that's something we have to stop doing. So many times when you say victimize a victim, when you want to disprove something, they always attack the person through accusation. As far as I know, you could have stole, you could have burned, you could have done everything. Even if you did nothing at all, they'll sit there and take. If you made one B in your life, they'll sit there and tear you down as a person that you made this B to take the focus on the jury and everybody else on the fact that, regardless of all this stuff,
right.
This person was raped.
Hold no relevance. If you think about it, there was a movie years ago that Jodie Foster starred in. And the gist of the movie is she was a very loose woman, always hung out in bars, always drank or whatever. And it was based on a true story. And just one day she happened to get gang raped on a ping pong machine in a club, and everybody ignored it. And one of the things is that she had more lawyers trying to convince her not to press charges because they're going to bring up your past. They know that you were a loose woman. You slept with some of the police officers, blah, blah, blah. And she fought that battle and she won. But just think of it, how ironic for, like the young lady said, less than 10%. But how many of them are not reported for the very reason? For the very reason of not wanting to go through that, being victimized all over again.
What do you think about the housing officials in other places recently now? They are, quote unquote, building buildings and luxury buildings, but for the sake of getting money endorsements, they also is building a certain amount of affordable housing units. In New York, this also is going on in a lot of other places across the world, honestly, especially here in the U.S., and it's ugly. 219 luxury apartments and 55 affordable housing units are being built. Now, because you built 55, why it can't be even numbers, I don't understand, or more of the other. But these nice condos are being built. But it's a separate entrance. So if you live in this, yes, I know this sounds crazy. Yes. Separate but equal comes back again.
Where's these houses?
Sadly, one of the leader places is in New York and Chicago.
You have to call somebody.
And it was a big issue last year, and I talked about it, and it came up in a New York Post article.
And the separate interest does what?
Well, if you live, the nice apartments are above where you can get the nice view of the skyline and everything else. The other housing gets the view of the street in the building. And basically, they have to enter through that building. The people who have an affordable housing gets to enter through the front door.
Are you sure that was interpreted right? Because I'm just like, I'm finding that hard to. With the regulations that's out, I'm really finding that hard to believe. That's such a violation of fair housing that someone would end up in jail.
Apparently, they found a way, but no, there's a lot of holes. It became the Poor Door, as it's come to be known, became the center of controversy last year when developer Extel introduced the idea regarding a 33-story luxury condo on Manhattan's Upper West Side. Condo will include affordable housing units, tenants who would have to enter the building through the separate entrance, the back door.
Well, I see some of that happening in Maryland too, and you find some of the folks getting, say, migrated out to southern part of Maryland, like PG County and stuff like that, and you have some folks that actually dislike it.
PG County is way okay. Let me rephrase that. The upper part of PG County, Bowie, was nice. Right. Forest Hill, something like that is not the best.
Right. Coming on down to St. Mary's and below that, all in that area. Some of the folks were actually, because my wife talks to me about this all the time. She has discussions with parents that actually have true concerns of their kids going to school with African Americans. Well, and the reason why is because of situations that happen like this, where they're building these apartments or nice places in the city now, which at one time people never invested in the city. They didn't care. There's a ghetto. You just shove them in there and close the door on them, throw some drugs out there to them, and then they'll kill themselves later on. Well, they're taking those homes and those buildings, They're flipping them, they're renovating them, and they're just overpricing them. So what happens to the folks that are there?
They can't have it. And then there's only 13% of us, and there's only a certain percentage of that 13% that has the money to afford it.
Correct. So now what they're doing is one spot. I don't know how they're doing it because it doesn't seem fair, but what they're doing is, it seems like to me, they're, instead of having to move out to the country, they're kind of supplying the need for both parties.
Well, they do. I mean, the government and the way HUD, the whole HUD foundation is built, that they have to provide, each area, medium area, has to provide lower income housing. Okay, and it depends on if you want to do lower affordable housing, if you want to do tax credit housing, or if you want to do subsidized housing. The problem does not lie in the segregation of the household. It lies in the fact that, number one, ghettos is a state of mind. Nobody builds a ghetto. Nobody just looks and says, this is a great place for a ghetto to be. Ta-da, I'm going to build one. So it goes back to educating, number one, okay? Remember when people were on welfare, they had to go to work, they had to go to training courses or whatever. They have those for subsidized housing, but they're not followed up on. They're not mandated. Believe it or not, right here in the city of Richmond, in order for you to be in public housing, you have to go on job searches, you have to go to school or whatever, but there's the system is so overtaxed until no one is following up, so that there's no accountability. And we've teaching our kids that the more kids that they have, the more benefits that they got. So now babies have become dollar signs, okay? Whereas at one time, if you was 16, 17, 18 years old and you got pregnant, not only were you scared to death, especially if you had my mama, but it was a concern. Now they already know the WIC system. Some of them could spit out the WIC system more to you. This is going to get me more money. This is going to get me milk. When he gets 3 years old, I get cereal with it. So they know the system. So, but I'm really puzzled that with fair housing the way it is, I can see a separate interest, not because you're lower income housing and I'm luxury housing. I could see a separate interest if to get easy access to your part of the building, or so to speak. But then even if I'm luxury, if I decide I'm on that side and I want to come through, I just can't see them allowing two separate interests. That's like, that went out with Jim Crow.
Dude, it went out, but because of they want the building and things, they allowed it. It was approved.
Interesting.
What do you feel about the, let's go on the little crazy side for a moment. What do you feel about these celebrities, and especially as being pushed as highly in black entertainment, I should say? The level of this Illuminati or churches and this worship idealism that you have within celebrities like Beyonce. She did not create it, but as far as I know, but she has a church. There's a Beyonce church. There's the Illuminati that you see various rappers or other entertainers, actors, what have you, saying that they're a member of that, whether it's true or not. And that's how they get certain roles, or they feel like only a certain select members of the entertainment, and especially black entertainment, have control, and that's why they have such a quote-unquote influence.
I know Illuminati exists. I'm not sure with some of this media hype and everything what it is. Let's just say I've seen the light, and so I know I've walked the walk. And with that being said, I think it's just a responsibility. I think that people put out a whole bunch of things. We are clear that there's a great power here that thinks they're higher than God, but they're not. But there is a great power here. I just encourage our people to know your history and to study the lay of the land. There's a reason why people say to study the lay of the land. When we were children, we had to go to the Black History Library. We had to take a book. We had to read. We had to know our history. I know the diagram of Washington, D.C. Way before I became a star, I knew how Washington was laid out. There's subliminal messages that's been put out there in the Da Vinci Code. It's been put out there in the Treasure movie with Nicolas Cage. It's out there, and it does exist. The depth of what they say this secret society does, is unknown of, but I do know that the skulls does exist. I know that Bushes in them was, if you read up on them, if you read up on Bin Laden, if you know your history, you know the lay of the land. So nothing is new under the sun, and nothing would surprise me as what it's being utilized for.
But I think a lot of it has to do with money. Who co-signs on what you have? Because if someone co-signs on what you have or have established, that means it's going to bring more people to you and more money to you. Yep. So it's almost like I pat your back, you pat mine, but it's bad because they've gone over to the churches where you feel that you can go get educated and, whatever you need for that week, that happened to you that week, whatever you need, you feel you can go to your shepherd and get it. Right. But that money has no discrimination. It doesn't really matter if it's going to benefit this company, and that's what a church is now. Unfortunately, some of them are. It's a company. If they can benefit from that green, hey, why not let somebody co-sign on it?
And I mean, anybody could go on the internet and become a minister.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
It's a lot of times I hear people say, I got a calling, and I'm just like, well, maybe it was a wrong number because it definitely wasn't your calling.
Right.
But I mean, we just have to be realistic of who we follow and the things. Okay, we can look at, if you take things like from the 10 Commandments and you look at the idols and stuff. Okay, Beyonce has become an idol. Okay, and a gold idol. Think about it. There's subliminal messages in everything. Okay, the gold hair, the gold toned skin, the lights on her.
Treasures.
So it's treasure, exactly. And so I agree with him. It's all about money, but we need to be careful of who we worship. And I think the funny thing is that people will jump on board with, well, Beyonce. Okay, let's digress for a minute. Some idiot comes up with something, and we get a whole bunch of other idiots following behind them. Okay, They don't care where it originates. Let's take the young men walking around with their pants hanging down.
Oh my God!
They don't care where that originates for. All they know is that this celebrity does it, this celebrity does it, this one designs clothes, so it's got to be cool. Okay, and so now another idiot develops a sign and go, oh well, this is the Illuminati sign or whatever and stuff, and they were like, oh yeah. I get asked all the time, well, are you a part of a cult? And I'm like, okay, Jim Jones was a cult. Okay, Charles Manson was a cult. You see what I'm saying? So I think it's an education piece, because it even goes back to our sororities and our fraternities. Yes. This is a brethren that has to educate people. The funniest thing is that right here in Richmond, Virginia, you have Virginia State University, you have Virginia Union University. But any high school on the west end of Richmond does not have their enrollment information in their guidance office. They have all trade schools. They have all things. If it ain't Virginia Tech, if you don't qualify to go to Virginia Tech, VCU, or whatever, they don't talk about it. And so this is why the death of the HBCUs are happening. So I think
there was all that money, Mr. Sincere, I'm not sure if we got to it about how all these HBCUs got put out because of, or shut down because of lack of money. And my biggest thing I got really irate about, you see Jay-Z talking about, I can't get my clubs open. Stop thinking. You want to talk about leave a legacy? Put your money into a school. One of my biggest things I've said all the time, he wanted to put a club in Atlanta. They said
no.
But
why would he? It goes back to what this gentleman said. Jay-Z was a drug dealer. Yeah. Jay-Z made his money on the streets of Marcy. Okay, Jay-Z can't even go back to Marcy.
No.
Okay, so the fact of the matter is he done smart business in who he networked with, but he still didn't have the social skills to know that education is key. So they preach to our kids, you don't need an education. Look at me. Yes. Now, the chances of that happening is slim. There is a lot of people that did not go past high school or whatever that are completely educated, but some of them actually have people pushing the buttons. They have lawyers that read contracts for them. They have accountants that count their money for them. The only thing that I could equate to is, think about Joe Louis, one of the greatest boxers of all time, and died penniless and homeless because he couldn't count.
Sammy Davis Jr.
Sammy Davis Jr. Yes. Okay, these kids idolized Tupac. When he died, he owned nothing.
Here was the thing I don't understand. What we don't do with our leaders, not that I'm advocating Tupac, to be honest with you, but okay, you see Elvis, Michael's rich now, but Elvis, the family who owns Marilyn Monroe, all these different figures of other cultures, they died, they made so much money, we glorify them then when they're alive and double so much more when they dead. Now, why come we can't go to Sammy Davis Jr.'s estate, considering if you want to talk about a black actor long before anybody else, when you actually had to have talent? We're not investing in his estate. We're not buying his music. He's got like 30, 40, 50 movies out there. So, you know, what happened to that? Ron O'Neal, his school closed after he died. And things like Lena Horne, her school got put out of Harlem, was it Brooklyn or something? I can't recall, but they shut down after the fire. We don't go back and reinvest it into the community.
Michael Jackson died broke. Yes. And in bankruptcy.
Oh, and then big time it is. You don't have a problem.
Neverland could have been a museum. It could have went on for his legacy and took kids. I mean, people go to Graceland all the time, so I equate that like, okay, if people could go to Graceland and see Elvis Presley, I mean, the king of pop doesn't deserve the same thing. But again, it goes back to worth. When he was alive, okay, we as black people have to stop going what's the good Negroes and what's not the good Negroes.
Yeah,
okay?
right.
Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, all of them are the good Negroes. We can accept them, okay, because they've hit a certain plateau. They're the good Negroes. But then the Puffies and the Jay-Z's and them, they the kind of sort of good Negroes, but we still kind of
they're good enough now because like they're accepted. You see Tupac now dancing with Ellen and just smoking weed every other place because it's cool. You know what he's about. His music. Tupac. I'm sorry. Snoop Dogg. He makes another album right now. This song gonna be getting some head. Where's my bees? Where's my hoes?
But this is
and weed. But then he'll dance on the White House lawn with Obama, and I'm just like crazy.
But you know what it is? It's all about the buzz. Yeah. You know about the buzz, and you know about the buzz, and that buzz will carry you for a long way, regardless of what their classification is in society. It doesn't matter. They have that buzz. Now, some of these rappers that I think they realize what this corporate America is about. They're investing, and that's fine. But you know what they have to do? They have to go back and educate themselves. Because I don't mean no harm. If I'm making a lot of money and I don't know accounting and I don't know finances, but you do, how can I really sit back and just trust you? You could be scraping across the top, which a lot of these actors, a lot of these musicians have gone through over the years.
And I agree with that. But the one thing that I tell somebody is that on the flip side of that, I'm proud of Jay-Z. Right. I'm proud of Puffy because they took street money, flipped it, and now they're sitting at the president's table. They're sitting, okay, they owning stock in the Barclays Center, okay, coming from New York and going down there where this is, okay, so that's smart. Or what they did, okay, I always said a long time ago that your most educated, smartest businessman is a street hustler.
Got to be.
You got to be in order to know your product. So if you get out of that game and you take that same education and put it into something positive, that's a powerful force to be reckoned with. We talked about, you were talking about like with the Tupacs and all of that, but he had a message and he had a positive. And one thing, he respected women.
I'd strongly disagree.
Tupac was an advocate for the African American women.
But you don't make the songs that he do, and then you still. It's sort of like you're talking about both sides of the mouth. You can't say keep your head up in your next song, baby. Let me get that A and smack it.
You can when you don't own anything, and the record label tells you. Everybody's under the misconception that the industry tells you what you're going to record. If you think about it, okay, when you go back to Marvin Gaye with What's Going On, the industry did not want to record what's going on.
Yeah, they did not.
Okay, he made a bargaining tool with them in order to get that song recorded because he had a social conscience.
But Tupac wanted that song to sit there and say that. The record label's telling a lot of rappers to say that, but Tupac wanted to do those songs.
But what if?
So you can't say that I'm a visionary and I do my own songs, but then you still have somebody else pushing you. Which is it?
Well, let me ask you this then. If he made a song, he made some nice songs, and he also made some indifferent songs. But if he was in an era or say where he lived, okay? And you had those type of women that actually responded to that. That was their character.
So in other words, so he's like, what's the difference? I understand.
So it's that buzz. He's got to reach out to that buzz, because some women out there, that's all they know. Yeah, I am that beat.
Because if that's the case, then James Brown wouldn't be the godfather of soul.
Exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
I can understand that.
So he catered to what was out there. It was like NWA. NWA smashed the police all the time. That's what they've been known for.
That's what they wanted to hear, because in their area, the police were on people or whatever. So it's like, wow, okay, we got this. It's all hype. There's people that sit in the office. People seem to be under this myth. An artist goes into a studio and they write, okay, and then they get a beat next to it, and then they got to go to an industry person. Come listen to this. No, I don't like this. What else you got? We need to get this. And then they look at other artists. If such and such is singing "Pop That Coochie," then you're gonna have to top them and come up with something else. And then it goes back to what sells. Sex will always sell, money will always sell, and violence will always sell.
But it's how you but it's how you do it. I give you a perfect example. People say, well, I'm a Janet Jackson fan. Yes. Look at Beyonce's recent album and look at what Janet did with her Velvet Rope album. That was sexy. I look at Marvin Gaye's album. That was sexy, but it was done with class and with respect.
So you think Partition is done with class? Have you ever heard the real version?
Yeah, no, I don't like no, I'm not supporting Beyonce.
And this is what I'm saying. Okay, if you look at Beyonce, when Beyonce was with her father, how her career was, when Beyonce left her father and got with Jay-Z, the industry was in demand. Okay, it was imagery, everything.
Like right now, she's like everybody. To me, it was like everybody was trying to catch up to be her. Now she's trying to be like everybody else. That's how I viewed it.
It's like, and I'm going to keep this kind of vague. It's like a leader of ours kind of agreeing with gay marriages, okay? Do you think that he honestly believed in that? I don't know. We don't know. But you know what?
He has to stay politically correct.
Right, but it's that buzz.
And then times demanded it. And
times demanding it.
Times demanded it.
It's just like, it's like everything else that we do. It's all about what the eye can see and what somebody is going to pay for. What the street investors, which that's what the consumer is, the street investor, are wearing the pants down and buying these CDs and then going. One thing that I'm gonna tell you what I don't like, and we're talking about this. I was looking at a young man the other day. He was going to the parking lot and he had this music blasting, and it was nigga this, flip chips, and blah blah blah. And the person that was sitting beside me was like, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "They're getting sold this dream, and they don't know what they're doing to themselves." You got people over on the sidewalk. Excuse me.
No, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Hello, we got a caller. Welcome to Enliven Radio. Who do we have on the line?
Hello, how you doing, sir? This is Mr. Randolph Scott.
Hey, Mr. Randolph Scott. How you doing today, sir?
I'm all right. How y'all feeling today?
Doing all right. Could you
about the topic about Beyonce?
Yes, please.
The thing is that with Beyonce, everybody got to understand like this. She's part of the Illuminati, period. That's one. If her name is Beyonce, on the stage her name is Fierce, which is the Phoenix, which the Phoenix means that destroy all men. That's what they look at. The industry is built on Illuminati, period. So when people go to the industry, they do get a record deal or this and the third, the fine print on the contract saying is that you have to sign yourself to the devil, which is your soul.
And then you see why those who, I'll give you another example, where she started doing music for herself, and some of the best music, nothing against the previous music she had out, but when some of her best music, she came out later, but she was self-publishing and didn't get anywhere. Tamia, I look at Deborah Cox, I look at Maya, when they started doing their things on their own and not doing some of the stuff in the industry, they went down, and it didn't support them.
It's true,
right.
And that's because,
that's true. That's true.
Sex
but
sells.
Still, no.
And what better way to corrupt the soul?
Carla, what do you think about Nicki Minaj's new look? Where she started from to where she is now. You know, she went out there and she made money, but she made money off that extravagant, sexy type, you know, just all, you know, overboard with stuff. But the last time I saw her on, and she even talked about it, the last look that she's going for now is that conservative kind of natural hair and wearing sleek dresses and stuff like that. But the beginning, she was ratchet, but she sold. So what do you think about that, Carla?
Yes, she was ratchet because some of the facts that's what they wanted her to do from the beginning. But it had to take her time to open her eyes and see this is the type of life I want to do. And plus, I'm a role model now. Now I got all this stuff coming out. I got to transform myself and look presentable and in a regular way now. Because everybody know her as Nicki Minaj, you know, the colorful, clown looking, going crazy, ratchet. And this is the industry had looked for. So now she's into the point where that she switched over to another side of the world and started seeing things that she ain't supposed to see. She had to back off a little bit.
And I want to expand on that.
Going to a new way in a different area.
I want to expand on that a little bit further because the one thing that everybody keeps forgetting is Nicki Minaj comes from a Trinidadian background, okay, island background where the family values and stuff is totally different. Do not think for 1 minute that her grandmother or somebody did not pull her up and get in her ear or whatever, because they are very big on how you represent the family and the family name, number one. Number two is, the other thing is that we have to realize that in this industry, our kids, our people have to work twice as hard to get their foot in the door. It's kind of like that Malcolm X, by any means necessary.
That's right.
So what she did is she gave them the clown, she gave them the buffoonery, and as soon as she got in the door and she got to a status that she no longer had to be accepted, she's calling the shots, she's making her own brand of liquor. Now you need me.
Right.
Okay, so now you need me, so now I can do whatever I want to do. It's no different than Marilyn Monroe. First of all, Marilyn Monroe was a brunette.
Yes.
Okay, she was a brunette. She was very homely
and
or
thick
whatever.
Girl.
It wasn't, and very thick. And then as soon as she started getting that sex kit and we bleached her hair blonde and everything, we put a mole on her face and everything, then she became popular. So it goes back to the status quo. It goes back to, again, those false idols that, you know, we talked about. One of the things that my husband and I talk about all the time is like, okay, what do you accept? The perfect example, okay? How many of our young men wear Timberland boots? All of them. But none of them realize that that tree that's on the side of that boot is a tree that they used to hang black men from down south. And the owner's father owns that tree.
Because it was that tree didn't break.
Exactly. But we'll walk around with a lynching tree on the side of our boots. I remember when I was a kid, you used to get Timberland boots in the, like, we call them the 5 and dime stores and stuff. They used to be like $15, $20 tops. It wasn't until our kids started wearing them and they became fashion, then they became $89, $99.
Oh, it's the same thing. I used to wear Dickies all the time. As soon as some rapper came out, I'm wearing, chilling in my Dickies down and all.
West Coast.
Those Dickies went up like $80 a pair from $9.
And so they give them, in this industry, they give the people what they want to get what they need. That's just the bottom line. The reason why Cash Money has prospered, because they said they own their own. Think about it. Think about back in the days, one of the major things, the issues with Cadillac Records and Motown and all
Stax.
of them, nobody could own their own distribution rights. Nobody could own their own music. Okay, so when you talk about Illuminati, you're talking about power. You're talking about money. You're talking about Michael Jackson, the most powerful man in the world who can rule nations, that he can go to Russia and get the Russian army to stop what they're doing and run behind him in the street, where he could go to Japan
for free,
and he can do whatever he wants for free. That's a lot of power. Now go back to that scene in Malcolm X, when Malcolm X and them was outside Harlem Hospital and all he did was take his hand and move it the other way, and the man said, that's a lot of power for one man to have.
That's why
So now when Michael Jackson all of a sudden starts talking up against the industry and he starts saying, I got things to tell you about Sony Records, and then the next thing he dies.
That's it.
This is why we believe that this industry is a part of this, because there's too many things that's going. When you look at the whole code, it talks about sacrifice, and Michael Jackson was that sacrifice.
He sure was. He was going to dispose Sony Records. If y'all understand that album he came up with, This Is It.
This is it.
He was about to dispose Sony Records.
I thought it was all the things that was going on was already exposed. I just guess that with his name attached to it, it would go further. Obviously,
he was about to go on tour and tell the whole world about Sony Records themselves, how they was dirty, what was on under the table and everything, and they had to stop him. What they did was use the doctor to take him to sleep.
That's true, and then he's out now, or something.
Telling his story.
I do personal security. It's no way that the bodyguard is outside and the doctor in the room by himself. That's not going to happen.
No. It's just like you have to have a female with another female officer.
Yeah, and you know, over the years they could have made him sick. You know, there's things out there now that it'll make you sick in a heartbeat, and it doesn't take much. But
they had access to a lot more stuff. They have access to a lot more things than we'll ever get. So there was like, caller, I thank you so very much for dropping in and giving us that insight.
Yep.
And I appreciate it. No problem.
And I appreciate that.
Thank you, sir. Call in anytime, sir. You're always welcome. I want to get to. Thank you. I want to get to the couple of comments and go into our couple of our treats that we usually do. Mr. Cutting-Edge responded and said, "Take out the father, everything goes down. There's a dark force behind it. We must unite to fight against those who have sold their souls for monetary gain in it." And against the mental slavery of our people. That is part of our problem. It takes a village to raise a child, not a celebrity. That's where we get into, and that's where I say I understand that Nicki Minaj and Tupac and all did these things to get ahead. To me, I feel like it's still getting into the Nino Brown's deal. I'm going to do whatever to get in to get ahead. To me, it bothers me because we accept that versus stop accepting it. Kabam, he says we need to stop as a people. Coach Crum says Beyonce parents pimped them out. And Arjanette Bryan says we in society set the standards. Thank you, Cutting Edge, which is true because you see a lot of us pop in. I'm going to go into a little black facts, a little history, one of the things that we do. And all I do is just guess, you'd be surprised. Some people do very well with this. He says, don't do that. Don't do it. Oh, God. Okay. What happened in July 21st in 1962? Just a guess.
He did this to me, too, to mess me up.
I wasn't born yet.
Okay. 160 activists. What happened?
62?
Yeah, 1962. But 160 activists, what happened then?
He said 160 activists?
Yes, in 1962.
Was it the March on Washington?
No.
Was that? It wasn't when Martin Luther King was in.
No.
No, because he.
Not with King.
Huh?
It's not about King.
No. And I wasn't born yet, so.
More than 160 activists were jailed after a demonstration in Albany, in New York, for the rights to change the laws.
He just said something about that on. It was on news too. Yeah.
Who was the first African in 1951? This person was the first African American to receive a Congressional Medal of Honor since the Spanish-American War. He was awarded posthumously. Cutting Edge said they were jailed. Yes. After he was, it was awarded after he passed away. First African American to receive a Congressional Medal of Honor since the Spanish-American War. PFC William H. Thompson. In 1950. I know he's like gonna kill me, but I do this for a reason. Just like some of these things I did not know, and some I did. But I try to just to help educate. There's so many different things out there. I'll give you two more. And don't look at me. It's like you want to burn a hole in my head.
You just talk to us and let us sound all intelligent.
Right. He stumped me when we had our interview last. I was like. I feel bad, but I feel good because I know now.
I'm all quiet and shameful. I'm too embarrassed. I need to go back to school.
Well, but you know what? Some of these things were never even taught to us. You know, it's
Encyclopedia back or something.
Right.
you be lucky to find it in some these days. You know. In 1950, what happened with 24th Infantry Regiment? Black troops of the 24th of Infantry Regiment. Yep.
I know it was airborne.
No. What? Nope. Nope. Black troops. Hey, stop looking on the phone.
On that tablet.
Hey. I forgot the rules. You announced the rules. Black troops of 24th Infantry Regiment recaptured Yukon after 16-hour battle, scoring the first victory for the Korean War. But also many of them got hurt around that time and it spread. So now here's something. We've got two ladies in the room. Here's a couple of them. In 1896.
Oh, wow.
Really
When was that, yesterday?
Yeah. Okay. The National Federation of Afro-American Women and the Colored Women's League merged and created what? And you must give me the first president of the group, of the organization.
The sorority?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Mike. No. Hey, no. You got to talk it out in front of everybody.
Dorothy Hyatt.
No, it's not. Nope, not Dorothy Hyatt. Sorry. Good guess though. That was a good try though. I appreciate you thinking that. See, I need you to hold the mic when you're trying to do this because it helps other people. It helps other people learn the process and think things out.
No one's going to incriminate themselves.
No, you can't look over here either.
Actually, I'm going to start talking like this. What was it?
No. In 1896, National Federation of African American Women and Colored Women League merged and created the National Association of Colored Women. Mary Church Terrell was elected president at the meeting in Washington's 19th Street Baptist Church.
We didn't get that one in school.
Mr. Cutting Edge gay, he said Mary Church. Everybody, so, you know. Okay, well, we're going to get to the world famous words of the week.
Oh, wow.
Now, again, with the words of the week, it's just to show, fun, learn new things and stuff like that, so to help each other out. Some things I've learned, some things I didn't, but it's just help. So I'm going to give you the word. I'm going to let the computer speak the word correctly, and you see if you can spell it first, and then we'll try to use it in a sentence or get a definition. Here's the first word.
Sanguine. Sanguine.
Sanguine.
Sanguine.
Sanguine.
Yeah.
Sanguine.
2 syllables. It's an adjective. I'll give you that.
Did it say sanguine?
Yep.
Sanguine.
Yep.
SANGQU.
No, I'm sorry. Use the microphone. You can't
No,
cheat.
sanguine. It would
Sanguine?
sound like it's a sanguine.
Sanguine. You got to use the mic. Come on.
SANQUA.
Come on now. Come on.
It's got to be G.
It's sanguine.
SAND.
No, sanguine.
SAN.
SANG.
Mm-hmm.
WINE.
No. You're actually close. Drop the say SANG. Sanguine.
Okay.
Sanguine.
QUI.
Sanguine. No D. Sanguine.
Oh, SAN.
Mm-hmm.
QUI.
GUINE.
GUINE.
Yeah. SANGUINE. Very good job. Now, what does sanguine mean?
Got me. Was that back in 1896?
See, in my sentence, it'd be like See what I was saying when.
Actually, okay, you use it as a noun, but I need you to use it as an adjective. If you use, okay, I'm going to help you out here. Use it in the same context, okay, of your train of thought, but use it as an adjective, not a noun. I'm sorry, not adjective. I'm sorry, adjective versus a noun.
So if I say, so what you saying, Gwen?
Yeah.
No, that's a noun. You have currently you have a sanguine personality.
Strong.
No.
No, I'm not saying you. I'm just saying just in general.
She is strong, but you know, if you're outgoing, you are. Cheerful, optimistic, hopeful, and confident. So now, because you're that, you have to give it in a sentence.
I don't know. That just sounds like a bird in Florida or something to me. A sanguine.
That's seagulls. So, Miss Michelle K. Robinson, please hold the mic to you and use it in a sentence, please.
I have a very sanguine personality also.
I said, don't. You gotta give it
I like her sentence.
you know.
What's your next word? Thank you.
You know what? Cheaters. Okay, here's another one. I'm going to mess with you. They get harder as you go. It's 3 of them.
Really? Like sanguine was easy?
Okay, here's the second one.
Extemporaneous.
What?
Extemporaneous.
Extemporaneous. Extemporaneous.
No cell phones.
EXTER.
Extemporaneous.
EXTEM.
Mm-hmm.
P.
Mike.
EXTEMP. ERIOUS.
No. Your first half right. EXTEMPOR. Extemporaneous.
IOUS.
No.
IANSE. IANSE.
No. EXTEMPORANEOUS.
Oh.
It's 6 syllables.
I need to find a kid who won the 8th
Extemporaneous.
grade spelling bee and bring him here.
Dictionary there.
You probably got some second graders that can spell it now, though.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Which is a good thing.
It is.
So it is an adjective. So what do you think extemporaneous means? Silence, quick, the quickest. And then you know what? Extemporaneous.
What is the adjective, Alex?
Correct for 200.
Okay, I'll give you a sentence. The extemporaneous thoughts of George Bush was really foolish.
Abstract.
Compound performed or uttered on a spur of the moment. And let's see, spoken or done without preparation.
Oh, very much so. In that speech. Yeah,
Ditto.
yeah.
What he said.
Right.
Listeners.
Right, there you go. Yeah, let's use that one.
The extemporaneous.
I got that one.
I concur with you.
Oh, I should have did the extemporaneous actions of George Bush during Katrina was foolish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Oh, Jesus.
That sounds like a name for an infection or something.
Oh, God.
I'm gonna wake up in the middle of the
Somebody
night.
coming up like
Yeah. I'm gonna just wake up in the middle of the night and just yell it. And look around.
Okay, I will give you one. And here's the last one. I think the other one was
One
maybe
more, that's
yes,
it?
one more. One more. That's
Go
it.
to the easy reading dictionary.
Now this one might be. I think it's. I was debating which one was harder, but I think this one might be a tad bit harder.
you would.
Pervicacious.
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 There's got to be an act.
Well.
Yeah. I think it's like an act or action.
Right.
Okay, it's an adjective. Yes, but you gotta spell the word first. Pervicacious.
PERV.
Mm-hmm.
I.
Mm-hmm.
C. A. T.
Pervicacious.
C. A. T.
Pervicacious.
Oh, C. A. Are you saying Tavis?
There you go.
CIOUS.
Yep. PERVICACIOUS.
You ever seen that electric company like A?
Where are you getting the T from this? Pervicacious. Pervicacious.
I thought you said pervicacious. So
Get your mind out the doggone gutter.
we said it was an action.
What y'all be doing down in Prince William County? I don't know, Prince George County.
Pervert.
It's an action of a pervert.
Yeah.
Okay, pervicacious. Your mom is very has a pervicacious demeanor about her.
Not stubborn.
There you go.
Oh.
Extremely willful, obstinate, stubborn. There you go.
Go Sham.
There you
She
go.
gonna go home and say, "Mom, you need to stop acting so pervicacious."
Yeah. And then walk away like that. I'm gonna leave her with that one.
I did that look like, what she
It's like, come here, you talking, cussing at me.
just smack you anyway, because you could have said something. I just didn't know what.
Exactly.
It's one of those words your parents want to beat you because they think you're cussing at them.
Or who she thinks she's talking to.
Well, she did.
No, she didn't.
Come back here.
Boy. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I thank y'all very kindly for joining us. Now, before we go, all of y'all are part of different things. I know y'all mentioned it before, but I would like for y'all to please state your name and things that you do, and how can people get in contact with you as well.
I'm Michelle Robinson, and I just enjoy life, and I thank you for having me out here.
Okay, you know what? That is not going to fly. Okay, you know, we have rules, like I said, you know, so okay, you're Michelle Robinson, and what else?
And I enjoy life.
Okay, What do you do? Where are you from?
I'm from Chesapeake, and I work for the health department with the Virginia Department of Health. And that's it.
Okay, and how can people get in contact with you?
They can find me on Facebook under Michelle K. Robinson, and that's it.
Okay, and sir?
Ryan Waddy, newly wed to an entrepreneurship. Thank God for that. It was time for me to leave the state. Not that there's anything wrong with the state, but God told me to leave, and I'm glad I did. So got into this trucking company, and I'm actually claiming growth in that industry to help my other brothers and sisters out there who are interested in that industry. Because it's one thing, it's another trade for you to put under your belt. Even if you have a degree, you know, driving truck is awesome. I love it. You know, it's a job that has less stress, besides the folks that are on the road and they don't realize what you have in the back of your truck. But I am getting together a team, and we're going to start teaching some folks how to get familiar with trucking and some other things. So if you're interested in that and you want to, you know, do something a little different, you know, look me up. I'm on Facebook, Ryan Waddy. I can be reached at mryd1975@gmail.com at any time. Appreciate you having us.
All right, and Madame?
Tracy Hardney-Scott, author Tracy Hardney-Scott, from New York City. I am the author of The BS Theory, Embracing the Gift of Women's Intuition, which is already out on Amazon and Kindle, as well as in Barnes & Nobles and a couple of other markets. I also have a new book coming out there, Stop Feeding You BS If You Stop Providing the Spoon, coming out in September.
Hey.
We're giving fives in there. We're giving fives in here on that one.
Hey, say it one more time.
I like that.
Yeah, Stop Feeding You BS If You Stop Providing the Spoon. And basically it talks about logical BS and how we sometimes are co-conspirators in our own crimes that were committed against us. And I can be found on Facebook under author Tracy Hardney-Scott. I can also be found on the web at my website, which is tracyhardneyscottauthor.com.
Can you spell that for those who, there's a million ways who spell Tracy?
Tracey, the proper way, Tracey. No offense to the people that use EY, CI, and Y.
I think that was a shot I hate.
Exactly. And then I have my TV show, Sister to Sister Can We Talk, that comes on Comcast 95 and Verizon 36. And we'll be back on the air with my team on August the 8th, 9 p.m. on Fridays. And I thank you for having me, and I can't wait till you come on my show so I could give you some pervicacious words.
Yeah, please give it to him. Please give it to him.
You know what? I get people who come up to me on the street from time to time, be like, "Steve, I got a word for you." And so I know it's reaching people. So I'm very grateful. I'm gonna give you a couple of phrases to not forgive the day with. When you forgive people, you don't change the past, you change the future. In addition, first love is all right as far as it goes. Last love is what you're interested in. Another phrase, I do not fix problems, I fix my thinking, then problems tend to fix themselves. Another thing was be kind to unkind people. They need it most, no need to be their reflection. That's something that I tell people a lot of time when it comes to different things out there. And I'm going to leave you with a thought. That gentleman in Florida, a lady in Florida, Miss Janice Harris. When you realize what's important in life, you will realize the value of life. We have been given this gift to cherish and enjoy. Be thankful for the gift of life. Make sure you love, share, care, help, encourage, and motivate others. Touch the world in a special way. Plant seeds that will spring up like the sweet smell of fragrance, lingering in the world well after you're gone. It is your life, but you will never fully live it until you learn how to share it. So that's just something I want everybody to keep in mind for. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Mondays from 7 to 9 on Legacy Internet Radio. We have Ain't No Half Stepping with Marcus J. and the family. A whole bunch of fun things for the flagship show. On Tuesdays, of course, you have me, Mr. Sincere, Miss Brandy, Miss Blessed, and everybody here. And they're all weekly topics of a variety of different things for Enliven Radio. On Wednesdays, we have the Green Room with the Green Room version 2.0 with comedianess Lissa P. and Jay Grizzy. Funny comedians, a lot of interesting topics, something just to keep your laugh going on. On Thursdays, we have All Throttle Radio, and sorry if I can't say it right like they do, but Biker Life. About the culture, bike culture, the whole bunch of things, not just from a black perspective, but all different types of perspectives, because a lot of interesting conversation. We hit news, topics, everything. On Fridays, we're having clutches on hiatus, but we have repeats of all our great shows that we have. On Saturdays from 12 to 2 p.m., we have the Peace Show, entertainment, culture, some funny things, action, some news you can't lose, a whole bunch of different things out there. From 2 to 5, we have Did They Play That?, which is a music-only show. We play music of all different types of culture. Sometimes we honor some of our great artists that have passed. We sometimes hit Whitney, Michael, some other rap music. We hit country, some jazz. You never know. If I'm here, we're going to definitely get some country and jazz and some rock and some other things. So you don't get mad at me. I'm going to make it happen. We wrote those songs too, so hey, we're not just hip hop, okay? From 5 to 7, from 5 to 7 we have Throwback, which you can move your couches, your shoes, get your baby powder, as they say. And we're gonna play some classic hits from the 70s, 80s, 90s, some R&B jams, those soul songs that your family used to play back there that you were tired to, and you were sent to the room while the parents had some fun. And then from 7 to 9, we had Deep House Sessions with DJ Renee Melendez, house music, and we hit house music of different genres as well. A lot of fun. I get that music going all the time. That's one of the things I miss about up north. I miss my house music and the rave and stuff. So, you never know what might come out there. So I appreciate everybody for joining us. If you have any questions or comments, if you want more shows like this or any other topics you want to hit, please comment on ENLIVENRADIO@gmail.com. That's ENLIVEN radio@gmail.com. You can hit us up on our Facebook page. Please leave a message on the MixLR. Thank everybody that's listening out there on MixLR. I want to thank all of our listeners. I want to thank you, Mr. Coach Crone, Tyler Crone, Mr. Cutting Edge, Ms. Arjanette Bryant, Mr. Mastro. I thank you very much. And everybody else who was logged in, and I appreciate it. If I missed you, I'm terribly sorry. And, of course, our faithful listeners on LegacyInternetRadio.com. Stay good, be blessed, have fun, and have a blessed one, everybody. Bye-bye.